You don't have to feel anything, technically, as an actor. Your job is not to feel the emotion. Your job is to convey that emotion to an audience so that they feel it. You have to be 100% ready because that audience deserves 100%. The moment you're watching the show or the play,
Just have to be present.
it's there,
Yeah.
and then it is gone, and it will never be that again. Whereas like with a film, every time you watch it, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
So acting is, everybody knows I'm not that person, and I still convince you I am. That's acting. In this show, and Cornelius, he's from Yonkers, so he's gonna talk like this the entire show, which is sort of this like almost Boston, almost New York sort of sound, but that's not how I talk. You know, like, and with Bernstein, he talked very much like a very soft sort of thing. That was a little bit of the Jewish Yiddish sort of tonality in it, you know, like, and it's like, that is very important.
You mentioned the Helen Hayes nomination. How did
Yes.
that feel?
Never thought I would get one, certainly not for playing an alligator, you know, an evil. When Leonardo DiCaprio is in The Revenant and he's like fighting the guy in the bear suit that they like CGI an actual full-size bear, like he's literally fighting this guy in the snow, and that is all very real. And I have actually like very subtly worked with him as an extra on Wolf of Wall Street, and I got to sit across from him on the plane. When they call action, he's not on camera, so he's not going to be like doing whatever he was supposed to do. And he was like watching the camera, he was traveling through the plane, and he was like, we're not in frame. And then when he saw it go past the thing and he knew it would come around the corner, it was like, now I'm gonna start acting. Like, now I'm gonna land in the character and just be like in the scene.
What?
And I was like, what's interesting about film is that it is so
Hello, everybody. Today on the My Career Shop podcast, we will be diving into the world of acting, theater, and stage performance, a career that brings stories to life right before our eyes. Our guest today is the talented Michael Perrie Jr., an award-nominated actor, musician, and writer whose work spans theater, television, and film. Michael is a Helen Hayes Award-nominated actor known for his energetic performances and versatility on stage. He is currently starring as Cornelius in Hello, Dolly at the Olney Theater Center. In addition to his stage work, Michael and his wife are set to release their new film, which you were just telling me about,
Yeah.
The Conspiracist, which will premiere January 9th on Amazon Prime and Verizon On Demand. And I will get a trailer for that in there as well. Throughout his career, Michael has built a reputation for bringing heart, humor, and authenticity to every role he takes on. And today, he's here to share what it's really like to build a career as a theater actor. So thank you very much for coming, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me.
So for somebody that doesn't know anything about this career path, let's just go to the basics.
Okay, strip it all.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you differentiate between a film actor and a theater actor? And do they like kind of do both?
Yeah, like an actor's an actor, right?
Yeah.
Like anyone who briefly pretends to be someone or something else, I think is an actor. As long, I guess, if you're getting paid to pretend to be something that you're not, you're acting in some capacity, right? Yeah, film is very like small. You know, it's very close. It's more about what is not being said. I think, you know, especially, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. It's less about what's being talked about and more about the reaction of the performer, right? It's like we're usually very tight on performers in the camera. We want to see their facial expressions. People talk about eyes a lot, and I will use my camera to show that, like, you know, and feel free, editor, to zoom in, crop in on this. It's like the difference between like an eye line being here and here, or here, or here. It's minuscule. And so like if I'm looking at you now and I go here, I'm not looking at your eyes, you know, but there. And it's like that in a film can be huge because you're so close that minuscule change, you know, like when I was working, when I act on film, I'm always surprised by the difference between being on stage and being on film. And I think what's interesting about film is that it is so small. You do not have to engage the full body in most things unless it's a very active, like if it's an action movie, like, and you're shooting the whole like scene and they're fighting, like, yes, you're engaging, but most of the time it's a lot of like, you know, like just these reactions to things that are happening off in the distance. With on stage, you are always, there is no control over what is viewable of your body. You are entirely exposed, for lack of a better word, to the audience, and you have to be engaged with the character top to bottom. Whereas intellectually, I think more so film actors, it's like you really have to be in the face. It has to live here, and then in the wide shots, there's a chance to be that, but it's not all the time. You don't have to always be physically 100% on when you're performing. Body, voice, eyes. It's selective based on what the shot is.
Yeah.
So like if we're really close, you know that you're like, oh, I don't have to do anything with my hands. I could just be here. Because if I do start to do stuff with my hands, maybe it's going to come into the frame and then they can't stitch it together because the continuity of like, well, that shot you didn't have your hand up, but this one you did, so now we can't put them together because it's like you were here and then the next shot you're here and it's like, where'd your hand go? You know, like, and whereas on stage, it's like you just have to live. You're like literally living it every night and trying to keep it fresh every time.
Yeah. So I've only seen one show in theater, the Lion King show.
Okay, yeah.
And I was blown away. I didn't realize that you could kind of bring something like a cartoon to life. And it was crazy because unlike an actor in film acting who's just pretending to enter into whatever character they're playing, you have to sing, right? You have to dance.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, at least to me, based on my very limited experience of consuming theater acting content.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot more, it seems.
I don't want it to sound like, you know, film actors are not versatile, talented performers in any respect. They are. Like, and having done both, it's like they're just very different skill sets is what I'm trying to say. Like, there's an intensity, like, I think very few theater performers translate well to film. I think that often it's too big because you're used to playing to hundreds of people. That, like, your whole career is playing to hundreds of people. Now play to a lens that's this big, right? It really shifts the way that you perform. So a lot of times when you see a theater performer acting like a movie, it's about reining in all of those larger choices. It's like they can't be here, it has to be here. You know, it's like I'm angry, and it's like that's it. You know, like I'm upset with you, I'm concerned, and it's all got to be in the square of the frame. And I think that, like to your point, it's like there's just something about there's a different challenge, and that's not to say like when Leo DiCaprio did The Departed, and when Leonardo DiCaprio is in The Revenant and he's like fighting the guy in the bear suit that they like CGI an actual full-size bear, like he's literally fighting this guy in the snow, and that is all very real. So like in those moments, I think he's investing in a way, and he's known for this, but like he invests in a way where he so fully jumps into the character that like I think even in those small shots, and I have actually like very subtly worked with him as an extra on, I was an extra when I lived in New York. I was an extra in Wolf of Wall Street, and I got to sit across from him on the plane. And it was really interesting because he was very effort, you know, when you're working is starts to become the gas tank, right? How much effort you want to put in is like, well, if I expend everything on this, then I have little to give in there. And it was interesting to watch him like wait until he knew that he was in frame. And he was like watching the camera, he was traveling through the plane, and he was like, we're not in frame. And then when he saw it go past the thing and he knew it would come around the corner, it was like, now I'm going to start acting. Like, now I'm going to land in the character and just be like in the scene. Wow. And I was like, that's an interesting show of effort, right? It's like, he's not going to, when they call action, he's not on camera. So he's not going to be like doing whatever he was supposed to do until he's like, for sure, because he knows he might have to do it 15 times. Yeah. So I think that in a way is a good use of like full body engagement of his entire character. But in film, it's just you can turn it off and turn it on when you know the audience is watching. Whereas like I think with theater performance, and going back to the initial point, is that like you kind of have to be on from the start of the show until the end. The difference is a film could take months to shoot, and you have to find that level of being consistent for 3 months straight. Versus like you still might have to run a show for 3 months, you know, but you're only really on for like 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And then maybe like the you know, give yourself an hour on each end to be like the come down, right? And then the warm up, right? So like the warm up and the cool down, and then like the actual show. So like you're only really like on for a short amount of time. Whereas like on film sets, and I can attest to this, it's like you could be there for 8 hours, and you don't know when you're going to be pulled. So you're kind of like at this ready place for 8 hours. So it is exhausting, but it's in a different way, right? Like if you know the shot is going to be, oh, this is the scene where like I'm just watching her walk down the path and I'm calling after her, and it's a wide. It's like a little, okay, like I can relax because I know that like there's distance. This is a very active, real thing. Versus some stuff is so contrived where you're like in a scene. Like if I was in this scene and I knew that there was going to be a microphone, they would have to frame around the fact that I'm like, okay, don't move. Because as soon as you go back here, I lose your face, right? So you have to stay right there and do the whole scene right here and don't move your face, you know, at all. And it should be all eyes. Like I said, the effort is just a different thing, you know, like you might only need to use your head. Whereas like on stage, you have to be always 100% in the body of the character the moment you touch that stage. Ideally moments before you touch the stage, so it's not like and now it's like drop in and then you walk on, you know. And it's really funny too to be backstage. Like we're in the run now of Hello Dolly, and we're backstage and we'll be having a conversation about like, what'd you have for dinner? Because I've been like looking to have a good burger. Like, what's the best burger place? Oh, here's my cue line, and then you're on, right? And then you just go on and you're like, that's the character now. The accent, the physicality, it's like everything I am, I just drop and I leave out there, and then I come back, and then as soon as I exit the stage, I can just go back to being me. And I think that's just experience, right? Eventually, like younger actors, I think often they're like so anxious to like be there that they're like, so there's a very, very long way of saying the difference I think that comes across is like, yes, physically demanding, especially in musical theater, right? If we're not just doing a play where there's like no singing, no dancing, musical theater, it's like sing, dance, act. It becomes very exhausting to just do it for 2 hours. That 2 hours feels like a 12-hour workday because you're just like putting everything on the line. You can't half-ass anything. You have to be 100% ready because that audience deserves 100%. You know, whether or not you feel like you're ready to give it, you know, and it's like you have to come out. You can't just be like, well, I'll phone in the steps here. No, because everybody around you is doing it, and you'll look bad. It will look bad, and so you have to be on. Whereas like with film, I think you can be like my leg. Is like, you know, you'll see that all the time. Like, oh, they're in a cast, or like, oh, she's pregnant, or oh, he has a mustache. You know, like the Henry Cavill. They like, we'll edit it out. It's like you can edit it. You know, you can pick what you want, whereas like you can't edit theater. It's happening live and it lives, and it's very beautiful in that way. It's very like ethereal. It's like it just lives in that moment and then it completely disappears. Like the moment you're watching the show or the play,
just have to be present.
It's there, and then it is gone, and it will never be that again. Whereas like with a film, every time you watch it, it's exactly the same. You know, and I think therein lies the challenge. I think it's hard up front to make a movie, but then once it's done, and it never have to worry. But it is also it's hard to make a play, and then it stays hard to do because you have to be active every time.
And don't you do plays for a period of time and go from city to city and
so
repeat
like,
the same play?
Sure. There's like tours where you're like, you know, I've done a couple tours, and it's like you're doing the show, and then you're like, okay, now we're going to travel overnight, or we're going to fly to blah, blah, blah. We're going to go to Boston, and we're going to do it for 3 nights here, and then we're going to go to Connecticut, we're going to do it for 1 night here, and then we're going to go down to New York, we're going to do it for 1 night here, then we're going to go to Minnesota, we're going to do it over there. And it's like with a touring production like that, like a national tour, if you see like something that's visiting the Kennedy Center, right? Like, you know, oh, the Sound of Music is coming. That's a tour, and they're hitting cities for a period of time all over the country for like few months, like 6 to sometimes, I mean, Wicked's still on tour, Hamilton's still on tour, so like 3 years. You know, some people would just go, that's my job, that's my career, and I don't have any ties, so I'm just gonna go and make a lot of money and enjoy what I do and see the country. I mean, it was cool to see the country, but with like those shows, you might be doing it for 6 months, like 6 to 9 months tour, and then you go and you are in different cities all the time. And there's a challenge there because it's like new space every time. You don't know the new space, new city, nothing is ever consistent, which is interesting. Whereas with like a show like Hello Dolly, it's like, this is a regional theater. You know, this is only is a DMV theater. They've been there for a long time. They host the show. It's like, here's where it runs, and then it stops, and it never goes anywhere, and it stays here. And if you didn't see it from November 9th to January 4th, you will never see it again. Like, it's gone, and that's the beauty of that is like, well, we know that every time we come to the theater, it's like my stuff is there. I know the space, I know the show, I know where to walk, I know where to go. Everything's so easy that like it just removes all of that extra noise, from being a performer, and it lets you just focus on doing the work.
Wow, I mean, I wanted to just let you keep going because
No, I can talk all
just as a result of that, I learned so much about the day-to-day of theater acting.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, we were talking about Leo, and I remember I was watching Wolf of Wall Street, and he doesn't do any drugs, supposedly, right?
Right.
I mean, I've never met the guy, but
he says.
yeah. And there was that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he's holding onto a phone, and he took some capsules before, and he was gone.
Right.
And I was sitting there thinking, how is he doing that? Right. And
having not done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in general, like, as I'm sure they used some props or something to get him to cry, but like the intensity that scene was in, I was like, holy. I think he drove his Lambo into something, and then he crashed, and then he went and tried to make a phone call, and then he's coming down the stairs. I was like, dude, insane shot.
And those are probably like totally different days.
Yeah.
Each one of those things was probably like, okay, we're going to shoot you going down the stairs 2 weeks from now. And like, how do you stay in the same mindset? Unless it's a oneer, which is like a one shot where you're like following them down the stairs, which I don't think it was, because it was like the Lambo set, and then he goes, and then he's in the office, and then we cut to, how do you stay in that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And how do you know that stuff? I mean, like, that's different acting techniques, but how do you get there? And it's like, I often tell my students, like when I teach acting classes for like high schoolers and stuff, I often say to them, I said, like, you don't have to feel anything technically as an actor. Your job is not to feel the emotion. Your job is to convey that emotion to an audience so that they feel it. Like, if you're upset in the film, you don't have to be angry, and you don't have to be angry. They have to think you're angry.
But do you feel it's more candid if you feel it? Like, isn't that the thought process? That, hey, if I can genuinely go into the emotion, it will transpire or like show up like this.
Yes, but with the caveat that, like, yes, I think like you have to kind of know an emotion close to it. I mean, there's like a technique of Stanislavskiism. Konstantin Stanislavski was a Russian theater teacher in the like early 1900s, and mid 1900s, and he talked about sense memory recall, which is like, when you're playing a scene where you're very upset because a character has died, think about a time where someone in your life has died and try to channel that, what it felt like to be there again. Which is a dangerous game because, and this is where I say it's like with the caveat of, if you have to be really angry in the scene, if you get angry, you lose control.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens when you're really, really upset. And so what you want to be is angry with control, which is, how do I show that I'm angry? How do I put myself in a place where I look and I can get the feeling and in the voice, I can feel angry without A, hurting myself, B, losing track of what the point of the scene is and what I'm trying to do and what the lines are. Because I think the angrier you get, like we've all been there, where you're so mad that you're like, forget what you're doing, or you're so sad that you can't function. It's like, if you really experience that emotion as the performer, you kind of lose, you're not acting anymore. You're just angry. Yeah. Which is not acting. You're not acting angry, you're angry. You're not acting like you're sad, you're sad. Yeah. And you can't control how that comes across. You can't like be specific when you're already in an emotional heightened state. So I think it's like, what I try to teach them, it's like romance, right? If I'm playing opposite somebody who I'm supposed to fall in love with, which happens in the show, I'm supposed to fall in love, and then we have to kiss every night. How do you make it the first kiss every night? Well, you know it's going to happen every night. So you bring in somebody called an intimacy coordinator who goes, this is exactly how this is going to happen. You're going to grab their hand, you're going to meet eyes, you're going to touch the face, and on 3, 2, 1, you're going to move in. How do you make that technical thing seem like it's happening naturally for the first time every night? But also telling your brain, this is not romance. I am not in love with this person. So don't give me any emotion, it's attraction to this person, because I'm not actually in love with this person. But you want it to come across to an audience that I am really, truly, and deeply in love with this person. So what you do is you give the audience all the cues of someone who is deeply in love with a person. You don't have to feel them, you know, but like little things of like eye line and then just, you know.
Is that what happened to Heath Ledger?
I think that's the tragedy of like when you really deeply care, and he was a very, very talented actor, and he really deeply wanted to do justice to the Joker in The Dark Knight. I think it got into him a little too much, and it's really unfortunate because it ended up with him dying because of, I mean, a series of things, right? But mainly, I think he fell too far into the role, and that's dangerous. And I think that like it's a testament to like, it is one of the best performances on film,
Ever.
hands down.
Ever.
But at what cost,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it's like, if you end up hurting yourself because of it, it's still good, but the value of it is like, but this is what it costs to be that good. You might die. You might hurt yourself over this. And is that a risk? I think the question is too, like somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis, right? I often get into this debate with other actors about like Daniel Day-Lewis is known for being like very immersive when he works. He's like, when he was doing Lincoln, he was like, don't call me Daniel, call me Abraham, call me Lincoln. Like, and which is fine, but like okay. But like, if you need all that, how much are you acting? Is a question. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't do a good job. He does perform well, but I'm like, Meryl Streep is also one of the greatest actors of our time, and she does not require everyone on set to call her a name that is not her name. You know, she comes up to set, I assume they call her Meryl. Tom Hanks probably doesn't be like, oh no, only call me Forrest Gump when I'm on set. He was like, call me Tom, and then I'll act like Forrest Gump. And there's a great quote. I think it was like, I don't want to misquote who it was, but it was like some famous British actor. I don't know if it was like Laurence Olivier, whoever was in the movie with Dustin Hoffman. And there's a movie where Dustin Hoffman is playing a homeless man who goes through a lot of stuff. I can't remember the name of the film. But he shows up to set and he's like, smells bad, and he's like really dirty, and he's like tired. And the older British actor is like, what happened to you? And he's like, oh, I've been trying to like feel what it's like to be living on the streets. So I've been living on the streets. And he goes, and the guy turns to me and goes, my dear boy, why didn't you just act? And it's like, there are two different types of people, right?
Yeah.
The person who's like, I have to experience this to know that I'm doing it right. And the person who's like, I can use other things to get there and make you believe it. And neither one is wrong. I think that people are enamored. I think the general public feels they fall in love with the idea of an actor going that far. But I also think it might be because it's interesting for us to be like, this Hollywood elite, rich person who has whatever they want, who's famous, has to do something uncomfortable to make themselves feel like they're a normal person.
Like Christian Bale.
Right. Like losing all the weight for the machinist, or like, right. And it's like Christian Bale is known for that, but I think he's also, talked about how he's like, now, is that what I wanted to do? Was that absolutely necessary, to do it? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to know.
This is cool.
Yeah, sorry. That's like the method. Like people talk about method acting and acting. It's like the method acting, which is not really a method at all. It's just like immersive acting where you're like, okay, I'm gonna fall completely into this. I'm playing, but that's where you get dangerous, right? When you do a role like Joker, I'm playing a sociopath. So if I have to fall into the mindset of a sociopath, that's a dark, upsetting place to live. For, like we talk about, they shot that Dark Knight, I think 6 months of shooting. So it's like, 6 months you're gonna live as a sociopath, and you don't think that's gonna mess you up?
But so I know,
right?
Just from a viewer perspective, that was the greatest Joker ever done. Right. So to me, I am seeing that if you fall into that character, right, there's a different output that comes. Because how many Jokers have we had in the past? And not to say they were bad or anything. There was another one that did Joker right after Joaquin. What's his name?
Oh, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah. And he did an amazing job as well, right? And I don't know if he, which train of thought he went down.
Yeah, I don't know that he does that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but did an amazing job as well. And so I don't know. It's interesting. Like in anything in life, I feel like there's people that just do the same thing in a different way, right? There's
Sure.
not one way to skin a cat,
Right.
but awful saying.
But it's kind of a little fucked up. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I feel like it's just that train of thought, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm always fascinated by it. There are people in theater too who are like really gung ho, sort of like, I have to like get into the mindset of like, what's this character going through? And every night they sort of disappear and they disappear into the role. And it can be, I think it's really illuminating to be on stage with someone who like falls really, really deeply into a role, because you're like, I'm literally with you in real life right now. And I'm not sure that you're here. You know, like there's someone else is driving your car, and it's a little unsettling, you know, to not be able to check in, you know, as we say in theater, it's like check in, like meet eyes. And it's like, do I see you? And you see me, and now we're ready to like do the difficult thing that we're about to do, you know?
Yeah.
And if you miss that because the person's like in another world, it's like looking at someone like this. You're like, I don't know what's going on back there. Like you've put the character in the front, and any other actor might tell you differently. But like for me personally, like I think it's just like, I went through that phase of being like, everything has to be hard and like we gotta live it, because it's like, I think, and it comes from like, well, what we do people don't see it as like a job. Sometimes they're like, well, you're having fun. It's what you love. So like, you're not working. And it's like, well, yes, we are. But I think performers specifically get like a bad rap when it comes to like, it's like, well, you're not like going to the office. It's like, well, no, we are. The theater is just the office. And our job is to do this. And it's very exhausting, and it's very difficult, and it's a very tough career to do mentally and physically. That like, I think there's a lot of performers out there who go, now I must suffer. I must feel the way that somebody feels about going to their 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, like, I have to hate this. I have to, like, in a weird way. And it's like, you don't. But I used to feel like I have to work hard. If I'm not totally exhausted at the end of the show, then I didn't put it all out there for this audience. And it's like, well, if you're exhausted every time, you have 8 shows to do a week. You want to be exhausted 8 times a week? That's horrible. You might as well find a way to conserve it. And I think as I've gotten older as a performer, one of the things I've learned a lot is that like conservation of energy when you're on the stage. It's like, don't stay in it off stage, because you're just keeping yourself up here. And it's already, you're pouring so much when you're out there. If you're pouring that same amount to nothing every moment you're not on the stage, you're just going to be like dead.
And that's what you were talking about, Leo, right? Where, you know, he's kind of mastered the conservation of energy and
snapping in.
Yeah.
And when you and it seems like magic, but it's just like preparation. It's like knowing the character and knowing what you need to do.
So on that train of thought, somebody that lives in that I become the character, right? They don't benefit from that because they're kind of always engaged. Their conservation of energy must be quite draining.
I would imagine.
Right?
I would imagine it's really hard. I've never like lived that. I've never been that person where I'm like, I need to be this character on and off, you know.
I mean, to not be yourself in general, like just from like even like stepping outside of acting.
Sure.
Right? Most people find discomfort in life as a result of being something or somebody that they're not.
Yeah.
Right? And to act for that long, it has consequences.
Yes.
Right? And it shows up in life in some shape or form. Right?
Absolutely.
Now, so, I mean, I don't know if they're intertwined, but let's not extrapolate.
Well, no, it's like code switching. Like, you know, people talk about code switching all the time. And it's like, I think and I can't speak 100% to this, but I can speak for my friends who's like, you know, people of color code switch all the time. When you're in a white space, or when you're in a space with people who are of the same ethnicity or group as you, there are 2 different versions of you. Yeah. And I think that's also true. I can speak for it. It's like, but if I'm around theater people, my demeanor, how I act, how I speak is going to be different than when I talk to my doctor.
Yeah.
You know, or my family who maybe doesn't like, you know, or doesn't care about that. Like, it's going to be different. Yeah. And I think that in a way we're all performing, you know, all the time. Because we're just like, well, who's the audience, right? Yeah. If I'm at work, my audience is professional, so I'm playing professional me. But when I'm home, when you're home with your son, you're not going to be like, hello, colleague. You're like, you know, it's like, it's not going to be like that. So you're now you're in dad performance, right? Now you're playing the role of, this is how I react with you. And so I think like we all are acting all the time. And, but if you had to keep on the professional, and
It'd
you
be
had to keep
exhausting.
on the commuter, and you had to keep on the person at Target, and then you had to have dad on top of that. It's just you're carrying too much stuff. So I think that what we talk about in theater a lot is like leave the outside world at the door when you walk in, because it's just too heavy to bring in. Like, I mean, I've done shows where it's like someone has passed away in your life and it just happened. And I've worked with people who's like, they come in and they're like, yeah, my grandmother passed away today. And you're like, oh my God, are you okay? And they're like, yeah, just gotta, I'm glad to be here because this is my home in a way. This is where like, I feel like I can be genuinely like out of myself and just be a part of something bigger than me. And it's like, it's a community when you walk in that theater. And I think dropping the baggage is a useful thing to have in life, taking off the role of, okay, I'm no longer this version of me. I'm this version of me.
It's interesting you say that because you're literally coming there to enter into something else.
Yeah.
Right? And that feels the most closest to you.
Yeah, it's weird.
Right?
I've said this before to people. I say like, I never feel truly myself until I'm on stage, or when I'm performing.
That seems like an oxymoron, man.
It's so weird. It's like, and I know it does. It feels like so strange to say, but I think it's the fact that you're able to completely strip away all of the pretense of the person you have to be a character that is all written out for you. You know what they want, you know how they're going to get it, you know how it's going to end, you know everything about this character and what they want and how they're going to get it and how they talk and the words they're going to use. So you don't have to think that hard to be like, what happens next? But every day of life is what happens next. You don't know. But you do know in a play that like at the end of Romeo and Juliet, you're like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
So you can relinquish the fear of that death every day when you step in. And it's like very comforting sometimes to play characters who are, it's really weird. To play characters are very similar to you is really weird. And it's actually a joy to play characters that are very different from you. I think that you'll hear that a lot. People love to play villains.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I'm a nice person. I would never do this, but I get a chance to do this. And I feel what it's like to be that person. You're like, ooh, I'm glad I don't make that choice. But it's fun for a brief moment to be like,
what was that like for you? Like, what character did you step into which you felt was very close to you, and then one that was really far from you?
I feel like right now Cornelius in Hello Dolly is very close to me. I've been dreaming of doing this role since I was a teenager, and it's very
congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a dream role, and I feel very at home in it. But it's funny because I've had so long to desire it, and I just never thought it would happen. But it's very specifically like says in the script, he's like, I'm 33 years old. Now I'm 35, but at the time when I was into this show, I was 15. I was like, well, I'm never gonna be 33. Like when you're a kid, you're like, I'm never gonna be that old. Like it's never gonna happen.
20 years later.
Yeah, 20 years later to be able to step into a role that you wanted to do your whole life is like it's like coming home, it's like, it feels very cool. So like whenever I step into it, he's so close to who I am as a person. He's so genuinely nice, and he's an optimist, and he's like just trying to be like, he just wants to find love. He wants to connect, and he's just looking for adventure. And I think that's very close to who I am. But at the same time, it's not me at all, and so those are very easy. It's easy to slip him on and off. If like you think about it like a jacket, it's like, it fits. And it's so easy. The zipper works. It's awesome. Whereas like I did a play called Hester Street at Theater J in DC, and the character of Bernstein, it was Hester Street was a film, I think it was like early 70s or something like Carol Kane's first like major film, and she and the character she actually got an Oscar nomination for it, and we did a adaptation of it for the stage with it had music as well as like the scenes from the movie adapted by Sharon Rothstein, and really cool to play that role because half the play is in Yiddish, which is a language I do not speak. I am not a Jewish person, and to be asked to do that role, which was so different from me. I mean, in a lot of ways, every role you can find something about yourself to connect to it. Like, he is kind, and he tries to listen, and he's trying to be helpful, which I think are things I try to be in life. So in those ways, I connect to him. But he is not clowny. He's not funny. He's very serious. He's a rabbi student who quit because he was afraid that he'd never get married. And like, those are things that I don't know. And so it was nice to be able to research that stuff, to like educate myself, to know what it maybe felt like for him, but I don't know, you know? And so putting that on every night was like, oh, this is different. This is not who I am. So the costume itself literally helped bring me to a level of like, and I had a massive beard. I grew my beard out, and it was like, people saw that show and were like, I didn't even know you were in it, because it just wasn't you. Like, it wasn't you. It didn't look like you. It didn't feel like you in the best way. They were like, I've talked to somebody who saw it twice, and they were like, oh my God, did you see Hester Street? I was like, I was in it. And they were like, nuh-uh. I was like, yeah, I was. And I like showed them a picture on my phone. I was like, that's right. And they were like, whoa. And you're like, as an actor, that feels amazing that you were like able to disappear so fully that people can talk to you in person and not know at all that you were the person that they saw in a play that they loved. Yeah. And B, the other side of it is like, it was so different that it really challenged me. And I felt like, I can't do this. Like, there were points where I was like, I can't do this. It's not right for me. I don't belong here. I don't belong in this role. It doesn't feel right. Doesn't sit right. And I remember working with the director, Oliver Butler, and he was just like, you know, you're in the film and everybody else is in the play. And that opened up a lot for me, that like, I don't have to be this version of me that wants to be this thing. I can just keep it all here, like we talked about, right? Yeah. He was like, you're in the film, so Bernstein needs to observe. And a lot of times he's present, and it's just like, he's watching, but he's like not saying anything. So it's like, you're the audiences, they're seeing the crazy scene happen, and they're going, what does he think? Because he's the only one who's not involved in the conversation, watching. And that was really helpful for me, because I felt like I was like, this doesn't fit on me. Like, this is a weird jacket, and it needed to be tailored, I think. And that was like part of finding him, was like, okay, learning the language a little bit to be able to say these lines, like, like, didn't know how to say that. But now it's like, now it feels more comfortable to say those lines. But at the time it was like, how am I going to do this? Yeah. Because I'm like, I'm nothing like this person. I don't know this language that he speaks. I don't know who he is. I've never met this person before. And so that was a like complete opposite spectrum. But I do feel like it made me a better actor, because I had to be challenged in a way that I was not used to being challenged, which was to do these things that really made me uncomfortable in like a very safe way. Like, not uncomfortable like, now you gotta like, you know, throw yourself off the stage and land on the ground. Like, it was more of like, just do things that you're not used to doing. I mean, that's kind of why you get into it sometimes. It's like, push me out of my comfort zone in a way that really made me grow as a performer and learn I don't need to work so hard. Yeah. Like, I still did the role absolutely wonderfully without being so completely physical, which is where I come from. I'm like a clown, you know, like, and so that's where I'm most comfortable. So I'm always going to try to lean and find humor in everything. But then with this role, it was like, there's a little bit of humor. He has a little bit of insight. He gets a couple little lines that are like chuckles, but not something I was used to. So those are the two. Yeah, for sure.
So the two different roles, the second one, obviously the one that deviated from you is harder, but like, that's acting, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. That's I mean, I don't think I'd be a good actor. So I have no comments here, but so what inspired you to get into acting, and specifically like theater acting? Did you always want to be a theater actor?
Yeah. I always wanted to act. You know, like, I always think that, like, my mom, I was on the phone with her the other day, and she said, somebody asked me what I did for a living, and she was like, well, he does a lot of stuff, but, you know, mainly actor. And I was like, that's true. Like, that is really if I had to lose some of the other stuff, I would probably lose it, but that's not one I would be willing to give up. And so yes, ever since I was like 8, I think, when I saw my uncle was an actor, and my cousin, they were in theater for a little while. And so when I was growing up, I was really influenced by my Uncle Jim and my cousin Clayton, who were in a production of the Buddy Holly story. And I saw that show when I was 8 at the Dutch Apple in Pennsylvania. And I was like, oh, it was the first time, because it's like, you've seen plays when you're a kid, maybe you go see shows and you just don't know anyone in it. So it's magical, right? Because you just like, whoa, that was cool. Like, if you don't know anyone in a show and it's really good, that's amazing. But I knew them as people, but they weren't them. And that was very interesting to me. I was like, whoa, that's not how they talk. That's not how they do that. Also, there was a lot of guitar playing in the show. There's a lot of music in that show. I mean, it's the life of Buddy Holly, so a lot of music. And so it really got me into being like, whoa, I want to do that. And I want to play guitar and I want to do that. So like got into some theater classes. My parents signed me up for the community college, Hartford Community College, theater camps and things like that. And I started doing that. And then I got into high school and it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
To
be in drama.
To be in plays. You know, it was like, you're a nerd, you know. And I tried to avoid it, you know, but I still was taking theater classes.
Outside of high school? Or
yeah, a little bit of both. It was like I was doing these sort of classes, but I was trying to be like, what does everybody else think is cool, you know? And I tried sports, and it's like, I don't think that I'm a bad athlete. I just think that I didn't care about it. And I think you really have to care, just like anything.
Yeah.
Right? Like you really have to care about the sport to be good. And then I couldn't get rid of it. And so I went out for like a play in high school my sophomore, junior year. And I ended up doing like 6 shows in high school after that and just did everything. And then I thought I was like God's gift to the world because I had just been like, you know, one of the main characters in almost every piece. And it was like, I don't need any of that stuff. So when I went to audition for college, I did not get into the theater program because I didn't prepare anything. I just made up my monologue. And it was the things you should, if you're a young person and you want to get into theater, and we'll probably talk about this soon, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't think that you're better than anybody else or that you don't need education at all. Like I did, and I was humbly. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because I needed to be humbled, and I didn't get into the program. And I was like, oh, it's not just a gift. It's a craft. And then I had to really knuckle down and learn how to do it, like really put care into it. And then through a series of events, John Glover, who's one of the alumni at Towson University where I went to school, he was doing an audition masterclass, and he came in and I did one of my monologues from my non-majors class for him, and he was like, oh, how long have you been an acting major? And I was like, oh, I'm not. And he's like, oh, why not? And I said, well, I didn't get in. And he's like, well, you got to try again. And I was like, okay. And he's like, no, seriously. He's like, you have to try again. And then he's like, there's a sign up for a play. I don't know what play it is, but in the office there's a sign up. Go. And I want you to do that after this. And I was like, okay. And I sat down. Other people went, don't remember what else happened. But I do remember leaving that thing, and I was like, that was crazy. He came out and he's like, Michael, come on. And he took me to the office. It was locked, but he goes like, right there on the desk. He's like, there's the sign up. Tomorrow morning, promise me you come in and you sign up for that play. I said, okay, I will. I did, and I got the play. And I ended up playing the main character in this play. It was a student production. And then the department came to me and was like, we'd like you to audition again for the acting program. And it was because
for the acting program?
Yeah, to like get into the acting track, which is like you had to audition and be vetted to go to like take those classes.
So let's go down this path.
Please.
When I was Googling the profession, you don't really there were no hard prerequisites, right? But I mean, you've been in the industry for quite some time. What would you tell someone, like if you want to create a track for them?
Yeah,
right?
trajectory of some point.
Like what steps should that person take to find themselves acting in theater?
There is no real like exact right way. I think nowadays it's like any number of things can fall into your lap. But I do think that finding yourself in, if you're passionate about it and you want to pursue it. So say you are a high school student who's like, should I go to college? Should I just move to New York? Should I do like, these are the questions I had. And you're like, well, I really love to do plays at high school and I've done them in the community. I'm going to pursue this. I would say definitely try to get into some sort of theatrical program, whether that's like conservatory, like either move to New York and, you know, sign up for like, you know, an acting school like Stella Adler or like the acting company or something, and learn the craft from people who are in it, doing it in a professional, very difficult marketplace. Or if you're like, oh, I want to go to school, like, I do want to go to college, and that's part of what your journey is. Study it in a program that challenges you, and take those classes that don't make you comfortable, that like where you're like, well, I'm really good singer, so I'm not gonna like sing that, you know, like say like I love to sing, but like I don't sing musical theater. Like if there's a musical theater class about voice, just take that class, because you'll probably learn something that you think you know that you actually don't. And like I always tell people, like, challenge yourself to go into those things. So yeah, definitely like find somewhere to learn first, then get out there and do it. Because I think people do get stuck in the trap of education, and they don't do. They stop. They're like, well, I got my master's, and then and now I'm going to teach, and it's like, or now I'm going to take more classes, and it's like, you can actually try it, like you got stuck in the safety of the community of like a small pool. But the reality of it, and what makes it so difficult, is that you're not the only 20 people auditioning for this role. There's 100, maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000, depending on how big the casting net is cast. Going for that one part, there could be 5,000 people submitting for that role. So how do you get it? And there's no answer, other than like, well, you have to have talent, you have to have patience, you have to have kindness, you have to be the right look, and that immediately like clicks in for this casting director or the director. But I think doing it is where I learned the most, which is like getting out there, booking a regional play, and being in the ensemble of some musical and going, oh, this is really hard. I've never been in the ensemble of a musical like this before. This is difficult. I had to really conserve my energy. I have to stretch. I have to do this. I have to work my voice. I have to be careful what I eat. I got to do that. But all of this stuff you learn because you're doing it for real, professional. Like when you're in school, you might run a play for like 2 weekends, like 10 performances. And you're like, wow, that's tough. In reality, you might be running that play. Like you said, if you get a tour, you could be on that tour for 9+ months. How do you do that? How do you keep up with that? So I think it's learning on the job is the best way to do it. And I know that there's some really, really talented performers out there who they get stuck in the education thing. Well, yeah, I've been taking this acting class and now I'm going to take a scene study class. And it's like, you're not doing it though. This is different. When you're paying them to perform, you're not acting the way a career actor needs to be performing. It's not that. Of course they want you to keep doing this. You're paying them to be in this class. Whereas you want them to pay you to perform. That's how it becomes a career. So I think taking the jobs, and at first I think you can be don't be
picky.
Yeah, you can't be discretionary and be like, well, that's beneath me. Like, take the job, get in the room, and do the best you can, and be the nicest person you can be. Because I think that for me is like if I have any advice, it's like walk into those rooms, whether it be your college audition to get into the programs, or whether it's your 10,000th audition to just do any regional or professional play anywhere or musical. Come in as you, because if you're in rehearsal 8 hours, 10 hours a day, you're going to be you most of that time. Like the amount you're going to be wearing the character in rehearsal is very minimal because you're rehearsing. So you might be like, read a scene and be like, actually, I have a question, and you're out, right? Okay, well, I don't know why I do this, right? Be that person who you are and try to be humble and kind and really instill that value in yourself, because you walk into that room, they're casting the person, not the character. They know that if you've made it far enough to be considered for a role, they know you can sing. They know you can either dance, or they know you can act. They're not calling you in and be like, I've never seen, maybe they've never seen you before, but your resume says, I can do these things. They want to know, is this the physical version of someone I want to deal with for 3 months, 8 hours a day? And I think that if you come in and you're like kind and humble and you're genuinely like, this is who I am, that's who they're hiring. Like, yes, if you're right for the character, but then again, it's like you can walk in and be the greatest actor of all time and they could go, he's not blonde. And you don't get it.
But can't you just dye your hair?
Casting is there's a lack of creativity when it comes to casting sometimes, where they just go, I could, but then he'll look like somebody who's dyed their hair blonde. This gets, there are many, let me apologize to all my amazing casting director friends who are awesome. They can see past that, but I've gone into auditions with a headshot that I have a beard in and I don't have the beard, and they're like, where's your beard? I shaved it. But like, they can't, but you haven't a beard here, no beard there. Why? And then you're like, I can't help you. I can't help you. If that's how small your window is like, it's hard to do. So it's like, don't give them reasons to not hire you, because there are already a million reasons why. There's 10,000 other people who want this job, and you might be too short. Well, the woman we have playing that role is really tall. So if you're too short, it's going to look weird. So we got to have you be. So like, you could walk in, again, be the greatest actor in the world, but you're 6'5", you're 6'7", and the woman they have playing opposite you is 5'8". That's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So we can't have that.
But that is crazy though. You
Yeah.
brought up physical attributes must make a difference in
do,
acting.
for
Like
sure.
if you're too tall, you're not going to fit with the rest of the cast because unless you're the main actor, you're always going to stick out.
You'll always stick out.
Right?
That's why it's like in ensembles, you'll see it's almost like across the board of like almost the same look, because like
What is that? What is that average height?
depends on the ensemble, but I think it's like somewhere between 5'7" and 6 feet tall. Like,
Okay.
or maybe 5'3".
Most people fit in that bucket.
Yeah, well, I will say 5'3" because there's a lot of women who are amazing dancers, like in this show, who are shorter, but
Yeah.
like that. It's like, but there's a wash of like this ensemble needs to be a unit, and like there's of course outliers, but for the most part, everybody lives in the same world.
So we were discussing the prerequisites.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I took from that was
yes.
either go to a competitive theater, right, and actually join and
Try to sign up for the
there.
classes. Like try to be in a class of a place that you love, or that you think the people that you like to see working in the reality have
So
been
take me.
to.
I'm in high school.
Okay,
Right.
you're in high school.
And at what stage is this occurring? Like, is this before high school? Is this after high school?
Ideally, like this stage, when you're considering like, okay, I got to make a choice, probably like you're a junior or a senior in high school and you're deciding what are you going to major in if you go to school. If you do decide to go to college, what are you going to major in? And or you're not going to go to college, you're going to move to LA, Chicago, DC, or New York City. What are you going to do? And I think if you're going to move to a city, find either a theater with a program of some kind that you can like take classes at, and then start auditioning immediately and really like try to get yourself in there, which is a much harder road, but can work really quickly if you do have the talent and you do have the personality type to handle that sort of intensity and keep grace and keep kindness and just be like ready to work. They might welcome you immediately, you know, like some people have that. I think the other side of it is to go to a college, get into a program in a college, acting. It depends on what you want to do. If you're a musical theater person, you're like, I love to sing, but I really don't feel strong as an actor or a dancer. Try to get into a musical theater program and be upfront and be like, I want to get into this program because I need to learn to be better at these skills because I think I'm really good at these things, but I'm not very good at these things. I think knowing that about yourself is really, really helpful. And like, be honest with yourself, because let's be real. I was coaching a girl who was auditioning for theater programs, and she was like, well, I feel like I'm a really good singer and a really good dancer, but I'm not very strong actor. And I was like, great. That's something you can learn how to be better at. I said, but don't hide that from them, because this is an educational facility. They want to teach you. I said, so, and then, and she was like, oh, okay. So like, I can tell them that in interviews. I said, of course, because that's self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like they want that. They want to teach somebody who wants to learn. They don't want to teach people who are like, I'm great at everything. So why are you here? If you're so great, why are you here? Why do you need this educational program?
Yeah.
You know, and I said, and number two, she had written into her about me, like why should I be chosen? Like, what makes me stand out? And she was like, I'm really passionate about theater. I love it with all my heart. And I was like, yeah, everybody does, babe. Anybody who's going to school is writing the exact same thing. So you got to change this. So what about you makes you different? And she was like, I don't know. And I said, I want you to look in the mirror and like really look at yourself and see that like you aren't the stereotype. And she wasn't. You know, I was like, she was a black girl who was a little curvy. I was like, those are things that are very rare in this industry, actually. Like, so the fact that you can dance and sing and act so well are only boons to that. I said, and that's what they want. Somebody who's aware that like, what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses and what do they want to work on? So I think knowing that about yourself when you go into a program is really, really helpful. I did not know that, and I was humbled very drastically, which, like I said, you know, like not getting in was earth-shattering to me because I was so confident that I was great that when I was told I wasn't, or that I was like, yeah, I was told I wasn't, basically, and that changed everything. So I think knowing that about yourself, I said, you know, like your story is not mine to tell, but I just want you to really think about like what sets you apart. Like when you go to your dance class, look around and see how many slightly larger black women are in your class. I said, how many? And she's like, I'm the only one. I said, there you go. Just know that. Like that you are in a different field. You stand out. And you are talented. So use it. Like, and so knowing yourself and taking that is very important. But I also think getting into a program where somebody can tell you that and go, look, this is an educational program. I need you to work harder on this. You know, you're not remembering your lines. How can we help you? You know, that's like all these little things that like go into the, so that's the trajectory. Find a place, either a collegiate institution or a city that you really love, and a program at some sort of class. It doesn't have to be a full-on program. It could be just acting classes at if you move to Chicago, take an acting class at Steppenwolf, right? Or take an acting class at Signature if you live in DC, right? But that's the first part. Then put yourself, once you graduate and once you feel comfortable, graduate, you're done with the class, audition and put yourself into the position of going, okay, and audition for things that are good for you. Because I think people, they get into the career and they immediately go, I'm just going to audition for everything so I have a chance to be seen all over the place. And I think the problem with that is they go into a place where it's like, well, this isn't even a role or a show that's right for you. And so when you audition, you put yourself out there, you're just saying, I don't know who I am, and I'm just trying to be seen by you. And teams can see through that. They're like, why did you submit for this? Like, I would never submit for Dreamgirls, because I'm not a black woman or a black man. So if I did, it would be really suspicious to the casting director. That's like, why is he submitting for this? He just wants to be on our radar. Don't hire this guy. He's just throwing his resume everywhere.
And you're blacklisted for other roles too.
Probably. They might go, I don't think this guy's not self-aware. He doesn't know. I don't think I want to work with him. And they don't even know you. Because, so I think the best thing to do is like look at what you have. Like for me, I learned this the hard way, but like you look around at roles and you go, okay, this show is a show that I think I'd be really good for. Like for me, Rock of Ages. Like I could do Rock of Ages. I could play any of those three guys in Rock of Ages. So if I see Rock of Ages come up at the time, I wouldn't submit for it now, but like I would submit for that and I would try to go in for that, because the chances of me being seen from submission to actual audition to callback, very high. So when you're starting out, like identify how you perform and what kind of roles and what kind of stuff you want to do and go for that. Because if you just throw your net out, you're going to be like, no, I don't get hired. And like, and you're going to be disappointed. And that's a bad way to start. But if you go sniper specific, this role, I'd be really good for this. I know I fit this. I know I fit this. I know I fit this. I know. Submit to those 4. And chances are you might at least get a call back for a couple of those, because you are right for it. And of course you're going to be seen. You are. And I think it's like being a little more self-aware after you've gone through a program. It's easier than when you're a high schooler to know that information.
So
it helps, because then you're set up for more callbacks, more auditions, where you're actually in the running for it, versus like throwing your resume at anything that's like, oh, it said 20 to 25-year-old man. Yeah, I'm going to submit for it. It's like, well, yeah, but it's also said that he's South Asian Indian. So are you that? No, I didn't read that. I just wanted to get in the room. It's like, well, they're not going to call you in, and you're going to be disappointed, and you're going to be like, I never get auditions. It's like, because you're not paying attention. You have to pay attention to that stuff.
So I want to just stick on the prerequisites for a bit.
Sorry.
So no, not at all. This is amazing. Well,
there are none. This is my answer.
So if you're talented,
sure,
right, you have the advantage of starting off at one of these more competitive places, and you might actually have a career straight out of there, no prerequisites for you to go study.
Possible.
Right? But the traditional record that you would say and what you see in the industry is that most people have got an education.
Yeah.
And is that at university or college or community college or all of them?
All of the above. I think it's like,
and
just
what do
being in a
you
program.
pursue there? Do you pursue like what are these degrees that you take, or do you do it more based on what skills you lack, or is there like a traditional theater program?
There is no real traditional theatrical program, because each school offers their own thing. I think that's where I would say the trajectory is like, well, do your research. Like, what kind of people are coming out of that program and what are they doing? Is that what you want to do?
So you want to work backwards?
Yes. So
like find like 20 actors that you really, really want. You want your career to be like them. And then do they have LinkedIn? Do they use that in this industry?
No, but there's Backstage, or there's like, most people have a website of some kind, and you can find out that. But like a big thing in the industry is like the program, right? So if you go see a play and you're like, who's that? They're amazing. You open it up and you're like, education, this place. You're like, oh, I'll look into that. Yeah. That place clearly produced that person. Whether or not they had talent of that, like that's not relevant. But at least that's the kind of performance I want to do. That's how a lot of people, I think, should isolate where they want to go, for school.
And so what are these programs?
So like there's traditional like acting.
Okay. And that's a degree?
Yes. Okay. You can get a bachelor's in theater arts, and then with a specificity or in acting, or like a specific acting track. That's why I talk about the acting track, because like in that program there's also like a directing, a stage management. So like depends on what you want to get into. But we just talk about acting tracks. Like you look at school with an acting program and you see like, well, what do? Are they really good at Shakespeare? Is that what you want to do? Are they really good at new work where they do like only new plays, and so you are like able to try your hand at new work and you're meeting new writers? Or do they kind of do everything? Like Towson, where I went, did a little bit of everything. There was like, you could do Romeo and Juliet one season, and then the next season you could be doing a musical, and then you could be doing, so it was very eclectic, like you had a lot of choice. So there's straight up acting, then there's musical theater, and sometimes there's a musical theater and dance program tied together, and sometimes it's a musical theater program and they also have a dance program, and the two don't really meet that often, but some of the teachers do both. Where you'd be learning vocal technique, and you're singing often and you're dancing. Whereas like in a straight drama program, I did straight drama, which is ironic because I do a lot of musicals, but I did a straight drama program, and it was like, there is no singing education there. You're not learning how to sing, you're not learning how to dance. You're learning how to act and how to be in your body, and how to deal with text, how to speak, and how to do voice work, and how to like do accent work. Like that's what you're focusing on in those programs. In a musical theater program, you're going to learn how to sing, you're going to learn dance stuff, you're also going to learn how to act. But what I do find primarily is like you're going to learn how to sing and dance. That's really what separates you. Acting is going to be a little bit more on the back burner for a musical theater program, because you can't do musicals without the other two, so you have to kind of do those if you're not. And then there's like voice specific programs, like there's Shakespeare specific programs. Like if you're like, I just want to do classical work, I have no interest in doing anything else, go into a Shakespeare program and like find a program that does acting for classical text, classical act.
It can get that specific?
It can be that specific, especially when you get into like a master's degree.
But where's the job opportunities? Are there that many plays in just classical theater?
There are, yes. It's one of those things that classical theater specifically is like a catch-22 theater, where they're like, well, what classical plays have you done? And you're like, well, none. That's why I want to be in this one, so I can start. And they're like, but you don't have any. So it's like, well, yes, because... Well, of course not, because I haven't been hired, but you would be the one to hire me, and then I could have it, and then I would, So it's a little bit of a catch-22 circle when it comes to classical work. So that's why those programs like Yale, or like there's some programs that work with like Alabama Shakespeare, like University of Alabama and Alabama Shakespeare Company, and like you see a Shakespeare company that's connected to a university, and then you have more of a tunnel into like, oh, if that's what I want to pursue, these two worlds are connected, and that'll get me in that room. I mean, like the Folger Shakespeare Library in DC, like is connected, I think, to some university, but I'm not sure because I didn't go to school there. But like that's a very specific thing. If you want to do new work only, like only plays that have been written in the last, year or so, like that's just, there are programs that really hone in on, okay, well, this is for contemporary work, and then there's like contemporary classical work where it's like, okay, well, it's written in the last 100 years, and then we talk about, well, it's 200 plus years old. That's really, really classical text. And there's theater programs that specialize in like ancient Greek theater, which like people aren't doing, but if you want to teach, maybe that's a really good place to know to do that, and it's like it all comes from there, so I guess it's worthwhile. So there's a lot of programs, and then there's like programs who specialize, like if I would say like There are two universities that I think, Boston Conservatory, BOCO, and CCM, the Cincinnati's, I want to say it's Cincinnati or it's Cleveland, but it's in Ohio. CCM and BOCO are like two universities that do a really nice musical theater program, and they're tough, but they really create incredible ensemble members. Like, and I know that, like, and some people, I think that sounds like an insult, but it's hard to be in an ensemble. It's a lot of work, and you don't
What's
get
an ensemble
like
member?
anyone who's not a main character in the
okay,
show.
okay.
So like all the dancers in the show,
Yeah.
would be ensemble. Like they might have a line,
Yeah.
they might not. They probably just sing ensemble choral stuff, and then they dance a lot, and it's very hard because it's kind of thankless in the grand scheme. People go to plays and they go, oh, that main person was so good, and then that's the only thing they say about it. But many times, like, that person's so good because they were uplifted by everything else is so good that they really shined.
But do you find that the ensembles at some point become main actors, or is that just like a career choice that people make that, hey, I enjoy it here versus...
That is a great question, and I think it's...
If you spend enough
No.
time as an ensemble, do you think that increases the likelihood of you becoming a main actor? Or like, do you start off as, hey, listen, I just want these main acting roles?
That's a good question. I think, though, the answer to that question is no, but with an asterisk. I think there are people who, if you want a really long career and you're a very good dancer, perhaps, ensemble is the way to go because you're going to get hired way more to be, if you're a talented dancer who can sing and you want to work in musical theater, just knowing that you're like, I'm going to book ensemble work. You know, like that's where I'm going to live because of the skill set I have. So I think a lot of ensemble people come to, I don't know, I want to say terms with that, but they're like, that is my career, is like, I'm just a very good dancer and I love to dance. Like if you love to dance and you love to sing, it's not like a demotion. It's is equally as important as any other role in the show. It just doesn't get as much attention or recognition. It's a thankless, position to be in sometimes, is like a face in the ensemble. It's like you're really busting your butt out there and people are like, yay, the person who sang, that one song, I love them the most. And it's like, you just have to get over that. And if you can't, it's going to be hard. I would say the tunnel from ensemble to leading or principal, which is what we call a principal player, is not that common. I mean, it's possible to do that, but oftentimes, like, if you really want to dance and that's what you want to do and that's what your passion is, and a lot of them, a lot of the best ensemble members I know are some of the best dancers I've ever seen in my life, and they're like, I love to dance. Well, you're not going to dance as much because principal actors often don't have to do all the dance. They get to park and bark, as we say, stand still and sing. And you're going to probably be like, oh, I miss dancing. And I hear that a lot from some people who have made that jump and they're like, I wish I could dance in this show. And you're like, yeah. Yep. Yeah. For me, I've never felt like a particularly strong dancer, but I've always felt like a strong performer, like a strong actor. So I knew that I was like, I'm not going to go in for ensemble roles because I'm not going to book those.
Is there a big difference in pay?
Can be. Depends on the show. If it's like a celebrity, yeah. Like if it's like somebody who's really...
Let's not go celebrity.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a pay bump, but it's...
Like a little bit between ensemble and principal.
Yeah, like just to strip away any sort of real number. Like there's a union, there's an actors union for theater called Equity, Actors Equity Association, AEA. And if you join that union, if you choose to join it, you pay dues and they help you with health insurance and they help you out with all sorts of stuff and you get a 401k and it's great. I'm a part of that union, but a lot of ensemble members are not because you don't have to, because how much, it's like it costs money and it's like, you might not be making. So if I'm as a principal performer making, let's just strip away any realism from it, $15 a week to do that. The ensemble member might be making 10.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, that's the difference. It's like, I'm making 100, they're making less. 70. Yeah, like there is a distinct difference. Yeah. But it comes down to the fact that, like, well, you're kind of the face of the show, aren't you, though?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's what I figured.
You maybe have a lot of lines to remember. And, like, if you're not as good as or better than the show might suffer, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, ensembles, a good ensemble is hard, like a really good ensemble is hard to find. So if you can find the right people to be able to dance and sing and consistently just absolutely nail it every night, that's a really good career path. Like if you're like, I'm an excellent dancer and I can sing, I can act. Or like maybe you're an amazing actor. You just are like, but I really love to dance.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a track. That's a career.
But can we?
And those schools, like if you're out there and you're listening to this and you want, or you're watching this and you want to be like, I just want to work in musical theater. I don't care in what position I just want to be on stage. Going to a school where they are producing people who work, you know, Boston Conservatory. I've never met a person who's come out of Boston Conservatory, BOCO, and who isn't like one of the best ensemble members I've ever seen in my life, who can't just absolutely sing and dance better than me, probably, you know, like for sure. Like, you know, so yeah, there are like schools where they are churning out some of the best performers that won't be given the spotlight, but will have a career for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and that matters.
That matters a lot, right? You know? It's harder to be, it's a lot more competitive to be a principal because there's only so many.
Exactly.
You know, you have 14 people in the ensemble, you have 3 people in the front.
Yeah.
You know, you have better numbers.
So can we actually bring realism into these salaries?
Sure.
Like what is the average pay for an actor? Not like, I know it's hard.
It is tough.
Starting off, like how much can people expect to get paid?
If you are coming out of college and you're going to do a regional, let's say you're doing a regional musical. So somebody's producing a production of The Lion King for some reason. They're doing The Lion King and you're coming out of college and you are like looking at the offer. You get the role. You audition, you get the role. You're getting an offer from casting or from the company management and they're saying, "We'd love you to do this. We're going to pay you $650 a week." That's pretty good for your very first show. That's unfortunately.
And how long does the show last?
So rehearsals can be anywhere from, depending on how intense the process is, 2 to 5 weeks. Okay. Sometimes longer, depending on if it's a brand new show and you're like, we're really trying to figure it out. But like 4 weeks, basically a month of rehearsals. You're going to be called 6 days a week and you're going to be there for maybe 6 to 10 hours, depending on what the union members, or if it's a non-union theater, good luck. I don't know. It could be that you're only in the evening because everybody else has to work a day job. And so you might just be like 6 to 10 every night for a month and a half. And then that's how you rehearse the show. But if we're going, this is a professional theater and you're going equity contract, which there are tiers of, it's very complicated, but there are tiers like based on how many seats are in the house of this theater.
Yeah.
That's the tier. So like a Broadway house is kind of a top tier theater. And then you get down to like, oh, there's only 100 seats. So like, they are asked to pay different things based on that because it's like, how much money are you making?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't afford, a small theater can't afford to pay, you know, $1,500 to a lead performer every week. That's impossible. Like they're not going to make that money. They're going to be so in the red.
So I'm guessing when you're starting off, you're going to start off at a theater which has a lower capacity, and accordingly you will get paid a bit less. And as your career progresses, let's say mid-level, right?
So you've done it for about 4 or 5 years, and you're working pretty consistently. Which is to say consistently, like when I was living in New York, I wasn't really working in New York. I was working regionally. I was flying out to Ohio and living there for 6 months, you know, and doing a show and then coming home. So say you're doing that and you've been doing it. If you'd be lucky to do that 3 times a year, for like, you know, sometimes 2 months, sometimes a month and a half. It depends on the contract. But let's say it's 3 months is the average, month of rehearsal, 2 months of the run. You can feasibly, if you could do that 3 times a year, that you're really crushing it. Like, because that's 9 months and that's crazy. If you can do it more, awesome. Or if you're getting longer contracts, like you work at Tuacahn and they have a 6 month, great, go for it. You do 3 plays, you're contracted on all of them, you're there for 6 months, awesome. You're doing that and you've been doing it for a little while. Yeah, you can feasibly start pulling 800, maybe 900 a week. If you're an ensemble member, if you're a principal, you might, depending on how big the theater is. But like if you're at a massive theater and you're asked to do the main character, you could probably pull $1,000 a week. You know, if you've been doing it for a little while and you're not like a name, and you're not like super known or you haven't worked at the theater before, that also matters. Like if you work at a theater 4 times, like I've worked at theaters where I've been there many times, each time you come back, they're going to crank you up a little bit. You know, they'll be like, here's an extra 75, here's an extra 100 the next time you come back. So you work there 4 times, you're like, okay, now I'm starting to make a lot more than I started with. But yeah, it's not a very lucrative position. It is. That's why it really comes down to like, do you love it? You know, how much do you love it? But if you're working, it's consistent. You know, like it's not like you have to like fight once you're in it. You're just doing it, and you have a lot of free time once the show opens. Really, like during the day, you have an 8 o'clock or a 7 o'clock show. 6:30, you show up at the theater, and that's your only commitment. You know, really. I mean, so your whole day is pretty free. Like today, I have a 7 o'clock. So like my day is pretty open, you know, until 5:30 when I have to get out of here.
So what would you say is like a normal amount of weeks that most actors work in a year?
In a year? Oh, that's tough. It really depends on how successful you are.
Yeah, like I'm talking like somebody that's been in the industry for like 4 or 5 years, and like from a career perspective, right? If I get into this career path, right?
My career shot.
Yeah. What should we expect to be the norm?
The norm versus the
And I'm
ideal?
guessing ensembles are probably booked.
They can work a lot. If you're a really good dancer and you can sing and you're willing to travel, you could be working 35, 42 weeks, maybe the whole year. If you get on a good contract, you could be on a tour a full year and be completely booked. And that matters if you're like a union performer. Your weeks are your health insurance. You know, like people talk about this a lot in the industry. It's like, I'm just trying to get my weeks. So I'm just going to take this dumbass show just to get my weeks so I can qualify for the best insurance. So it's like you get like 12 weeks, you get 6 months, and you do 19 weeks, you work in a year, you get a full year of coverage, you know, like so. And you really don't have to pay that much. Like when I was on it, now thankfully my wife works for a nonprofit, you know, government adjacent thing. So I get insurance through my wife, but I still get emails saying, hey, you qualified for a year of, you know, gold, whatever the heck, you know, and I just don't do it. But I remember going to the hospital during a year where I was working a lot, and it was like $20, and I was like seen in the ER, got medicine, $20, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's good because our bodies are on the line. I mean, like that's your body is your product, so they do care, and that's what the union's good at protecting people for. Is like if you get hurt, they are paying for it. Like they will come and they will fight that theater for you. You know, they're not messing around. So. I would say 30 some weeks is a really busy year for you because that's hard. Also, it's physically demanding. Like, you know, you do need like a couple weeks off between these shows. But there was a time where I had a year where I did like 4 shows back to back, and it was like, I mean, I had worked 40 weeks of that year, which is crazy. Then, but I would say the average, like around here, right, in the DMV, which I'm learning because I'm newer to the area, you know, if you could do 2 shows a year, that's pretty damn good. 3 is really good. 4 is insane. You know, like 4 is wild if you can pull 4 shows in a year, because the runs are a little longer because they sit and people do see them. And so like with Hello Dolly, like we started October 7th in rehearsals and we're running to January 4th. So like it's 3 months, you know, of work. So that's a lot of weeks, you know, for anybody in the union. That would be a good, you know, you're going to qualify.
Yeah. Right off the bat.
Yeah. Just from that show. And then like, you know, principal contract based on the size, you know, you're going to be pulling, but then you also owe dues and taxes and all these things. So like,
of course,
healthcare and 401k contributions. And so like, yes, say you're an ensemble person and you're doing pretty well and you're making $900 on a contract. Which is pretty good. Unfortunately, that is pretty damn good for theater. You're maybe taking home $750 because after everything, a week. So it's not like excellent pay, but you are doing your career and your dream probably. So like that is a big part of it too. It's the mental thing of being like, well, I'm working and I do what I love, and that's kind of awesome. That's sort of realistic. As you get bigger, if you start to work at a theater more, you start to have a name. You know, you can demand a little more. Like when I was doing Buddy, I can speak to this because this is in the past and this is my own personal experience. But when I was doing Buddy, the Buddy Holly story, the first time I ever did it, and I was playing Buddy Holly, I was on a tour, and I was getting $1,100 a week, which to me at the time was like, I've never seen this in theater in my life. I'd worked in theater for 5 years, and I was like, what? That's insane. And then for a little while, never made anywhere near that. You know, like then I went back to like the regional houses, and I was making like $750, $8, you know, and that was pretty consistent for like minor roles and musicals and plays. But then as I would go back to Buddy, each time I went back to Buddy, I could go, well, I've done the tour. And they would go, okay, so $875. And then I would do it again. Now it's $950. Now it's $1,000. Now it's $12. Now it's so the last time I was ever offered Buddy, I actually turned it down because I was sick and tired. I'd done the show 7 times, so I was a little like, I'm done, and I haven't done it since. The offer was like $1,400 a week, which is crazy because they were like, we don't pay more than $9, and I was like, okay, that's fine, no thank you, and I turned it down. Then it was a funny thing. I was doing the show in Florida. The people who were the artistic director of that theater wanted to buy our set because they really liked the set that was built for that show. So they're like, we're going to take it. We're going to ship it out to Colorado. And they saw the show. And the next day, my agent was like, so they went up there. They want to pay you what you asked for.
Oh, that's awesome.
After they saw it. And I was like, that's amazing. No.
Yeah.
Like it was like, because it wasn't about the money. It was about, I'm sick of this show. I'm sick of this role. I think I've mined it for everything I could possibly do after this many times and touring. I mean, I've done the show like, I would say almost 1,000 times. I mean, like
wow.
Performances. Like I've sung these songs more than he did. You know, like he died at 22, so I've definitely played his music way more than he is. You know, and so in that way, it's like I definitely went from. Oh, pretty good, but like regionally, I was starting in that show, and it was like $700 a week, and I was very happy to get that. And then towards the end, I was able to command almost basically double that, which was because I knew it so well, and I was so well critically received. Like you could look it up and it'd be like, okay, this guy never misses, you know, with this role. We have to have that guy. I still get offers on it too, and I have to turn it down. Like theaters will be like, hey, somebody recommended you for this role, and I'm like, I don't do it anymore, but here's 4 people who do. Hopefully you hire them because they've only done it once or twice.
Over it, been there, done that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I'm very big on like the community aspect of the theater. Like if I can't do it, I will give you people that I know that I think deserve it in my stead. You know, if you're asking me to do it, I'm going to give you people that I think you should ask to do it. If you're asking me to audition for it, I'm going to be like, no, I can't because I don't do that show anymore. Thanks so much. If you have something else, let me know. Yeah. So yeah, you can grow, you know, and especially in the area too. Like this area, I would say the DC area pays a lot more than a lot of areas do.
Oh, okay.
And so like you can expect to make anywhere from $700 to $1,400 on a contract, depending on what theater and what show you're doing. You know,
on a weekly basis.
Yeah, because theaters like Ford's pay very well because they're they're a protected place, and they're very, very good at like raising money because it's a historic theater. So like they have a lot of attention, and they do really good work, and they're very particular about hiring local people because that's important to it being a DC institution.
And that's why you moved.
Well, it wasn't why I moved. I moved because my wife got a job down here, and I was like, oh, I guess I gotta start a career here. I just happened to get very lucky and know somebody who was auditioning. Joseph Rich, who was an MFA at Towson, was running a theater that is no longer, sadly, around Rep Stage, which was run through Montgomery Community College, and but it was an equity theater that was run through there, and they were doing Falsettos, a musical that I love quite dearly, is very close to me, and I was like, hey, I'm coming back, I'm living in the area, can I come in and audition for it? And he was like, absolutely. Got that role, got really good press, a lot of people came to see it because it was their last show, so it was a big hurrah, and that helped me a lot. It was like people seeing you around here. It's different. When I was living in New York, I needed an agent. But now I'm here, I do not have an agent anymore. And it's just like people come see you, and then you get an email like 2 days later, and they're like, hey, we'd love you to read for this role, or can you come in and we'd love to see you for this. And it's amazing. It's very community. You know, there's a difference between the New York scene and the DC scene, where there's a big community here of people see everything. Casting directors will come to anything around here. You don't have to invite them. They just come, and then maybe the next day, a theater you've never even worked for. Like, it happened to me. And shout out to Mosaic for asking me to come in after our opening, you know, to be like, hey, I know it's short notice, but can you come in tomorrow? And I was like, I'm already booked. So I'm not going to waste your time. Like, they send you the dates of like, the show's going to be
March next year, can you come in and read for the role? You know, and I was like, I already have a job, but thank you so much for reaching out. That means the world to me, you know, because it's cool to be like, I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
And a lot of acting is like reaching out at the top of your career. Here's a career thing. A lot of it is reaching out to theaters that you want to work at and go, hi, here's my resume, and this is what I'm really good at. I know you're doing this show next season. I think I'd be really great for that. I hope I can send you a video maybe of me singing, you know, just to like get on your radar. And a lot of them will be like, yeah, please.
Yeah.
We'd love to, like, never hurts them to have new people, because also people will career out of a theater where like you work in a theater 4 times and they really give you a lot of good work, but they can't afford you at a certain point. Your money starts to go beyond what they can afford.
Fair enough.
And it's like, I would love to work for you forever because I love the people and I love it, but I can't fiscally make it happen. But I will give you people that I meet that I think that are really talented, and you should hire them instead.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So I want to get back. I think we fleshed out money. We figured out how do you become one, right? Yep. And you've also explained like what are the skills that are needed.
Yeah.
You didn't directly answer it, but you need
sure.
to know how to sing. You need to know how to dance, especially like that's musical theater.
Musical theater, yeah.
And then in regular, you need to know how to act.
Yeah,
right.
If you're doing plays, you need to be just a solid actor, and you need to have good voice, good body awareness.
How to memorize lines.
Memorization is really, really key. If you're like, I can't memorize anything, maybe don't do acting, because a lot of it is just memorization. You also have to be like very emotionally intelligent. I think that's a big one. It's like you have to really be able to read people's states and know that like a very small thing can do a lot and can say a lot. So I think those are the big ones. And the one that I think is not integral, but I would consider integral, is be kind. Like you have to be a kind person, because it's so hard. And everybody that you're going to deal with is working really, really hard. The last thing anyone needs to enter their space is an asshole. Is to come in and be like, this isn't working for me, and like, oh, I don't like this, and like being rude. You will never, that theater will never hire you again, because it's a big deal. But like,
so teamwork's a huge thing.
Teamwork, you need to be the best team player, because if you don't think of yourself as a team, you're cooked, as the kids say. Like, you know, you're just like, you're already on the bad foot, because you are a team. And if you think you're any better than anybody else on this team, be it the lighting designer, the person hanging lights, your A1, your audio 1, your audio 2. If you think that what you do is any more important than what they're doing for the show, you are so wrong, and you need to get that out of your head immediately. Like, every single person is integral. Because like, oh, you talk down to the A2, maybe your mic doesn't come up. Uh-oh. Sorry, forgot to bring you up today.
Oh.
You know, like, you have to be together. Like, you know, and it's like, and that kindness is really important. It's not always there, but it's something that is very important to me. So if you're asking my personal advice, that's one of the more important things. Because you can be an okay actor, but also be really easy and wonderful to work with, and people will hire you more than, because like,
you spend weeks together. It makes a difference.
It does.
Because
you
probably
can get somebody there over the course of rehearsal. I can get you to be that character. I have 4 weeks. If I'm worried that like you need some work, I can find a way if I really like working with you.
Yeah.
But the other way around, not so much. If you're not there and you suck and you're a bad person, goodbye.
Yeah.
Because like now you're not even performing well and you're difficult to be around. You're never gonna make it. Like,
and does everyone talk in the industry?
Yeah. Actors talk to each other all the time. We're very open.
I mean, but recruiters and these people,
casting directors and theater people, like they know and they see everything, and especially in a community like this, right? Like on a broader world, it's harder, you know, like when you go out regionally, it's like some theater in California that hired you for one show may not know you at all, you know, but around here, somebody does know you, and if asked, they will say it, you know, they'll be like, I don't know if you should hire that person.
Aren't references also a part of this?
It's a big part of it, yeah.
Right?
Like if somebody, word of mouth is huge, you know, it's like somebody saying, oh, you know, he'd be really good for this.
Yeah.
You got to hire Mike.
Yeah.
Why? Have I seen him? Yeah. Did you see? Yeah. That was, you know, like, Oh, because there's so many shows happening here. That's the funny thing. It's just always like 6 things performing at the same time in the area. And so being able to know who, like you start to know. When I first got here, I was like, I don't know anybody. And then slowly it's like, oh, now I know almost everybody. It feels like it's like I see people at auditions all the time. You start to see the same people too. Because like you reach an echelon of like your career and it does transcend over. Like I thought that I would still have to work from the bottom up in the DC area, but I was already at a higher tier when I came here. And I think I kind of slotted myself up because it was like, well, this is what I do.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't take these things. I only take this level of stuff. So I can't go backwards.
Yeah.
I have to
Makes
take a
sense.
step forward. Yeah. And so it helps. So then I became seeing the same people.
You said in the beginning it's a craft.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're not going to take entry level roles.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll hurt you.
Unless you really, really want to work at that theater. You know, like I think that's valid too. Like if you're like, man, I've been really dying to work at Arena and they're offering me an understudy for a play they're doing. And it's like, well, I'll consider it because I'm not going to be promised any stage time, but it would be nice to work there, you know, and I want to be in there. And then maybe the next time that I'll be, you know, the first choice, you know?
Yeah.
So like there is some of that does play into it. There's a little bit of politicking that you need to do sometimes. But I think, you know, self-advocacy is big in this career because it's like, this is the product.
Yeah.
That is tough, which is why people say like, do anything else. It's like, because you got to get used to being like, if somebody denies you for a role, it's not necessarily personal, but it feels very personal because you're like, I came in. It was me. It wasn't like, here's my thing that I put together. Oh, you don't like it? Okay, I'll fix it. It's like, oh, you don't like it? Okay, I'll fix it. And it's like my face. Like, you know, it's like, that's why you see a lot of that, you know, that beauty standard, especially in celebrity. Like, it's like.
On that note, who's not a good fit for this career path? Like thin skin, not gonna work.
Yeah. If you
can't memorize lines,
that's not gonna
work.
help. Yeah. If you are thin-skinned, I think goes hand in hand with emotionally unintelligent. I think you have to be able to see other people be upset and know that it's probably not your fault. And they might be rude to you that day, but it could just be that, like, you know, maybe they got in a car crash, or maybe they like found out some bad news in their life and it's just lingering on them. And being able to go, I can understand. I mean, that's part of acting, right? So you get a character and they might be a bad guy. They might do horrible things, right? And then you go, but they don't see it as horrible. You know, like, so when somebody comes up to you and then maybe the first time you meet them, they're standoffish, you can't be like, well, they're a bad person. You have to go, I'll give it another chance. And then you like really see and you're like, oh, see, I found out later that they, you know, got sideswiped in a parking lot earlier and the person just drove away. And then they walked into rehearsal and they were in a bad mood.
I was reading a book
and it's like, oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, please.
You off. And it had a quote from Abraham Lincoln.
Love it.
And it said, if you don't like somebody, Lincoln used to say, I need to spend more time with this person to get to know them better.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't, you know, he was basically insinuating that there's something I'm missing here.
Yeah.
Right? And by default, right, they're likely a good person.
You can't make that snap judgment on people, as what I'm learning from being in theater. It's like, I think that's 100% right. I think Lincoln absolutely nailed it. It's probably one of the only times. No, he absolutely crushed it with that because you sometimes just need to be around somebody a little bit more than that brief interaction to know whether or not. And then sometimes they do prove themselves to be like kind of a bad person, you know, like, and that's.
You find that everywhere.
It happens.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I think most people want to be nice.
Yeah.
And most people try to have a good attitude. It's just like situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of negative characteristics that don't sit,
being thin-skinned, being not emotionally intelligent. Like if you can't read a room, I don't think you should go into theater. Like if you can't memorize, you know, if you don't have a good memory, that's a big part of it. It's also a big part of it outside of just like the text, because a lot of people are like, how do you remember all those lines? It's like, that's actually not the harder part. It's the hard part is making them feel like you are saying them for the first time every single time you say them. That's what makes it hard. My mom once said something to me that was accidentally insulting. She said, I'm such a good actor. I think I could be a really good actor. And I said, why? And she said, well, she likes to play poker. And she said, well, because I went to the casino and I like told people that I was like this other person and I made up this whole persona and they just believe it. I said, well, they're strangers. They don't know you. I said, acting is everybody knows that I'm not that person and I still convince you I am.
Mm-hmm.
That's acting. Mm-hmm. Like, you know that I'm Mike and I'm not this. But if I can, for a brief moment, make you think I'm Buddy Holly, that's acting.
Yeah.
If you don't know me and I say, hi, I'm Buddy Holly, you're like, okay, that's your name.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's the guy's name who's the, so it's like, that's lying. Lying to people it is partially lying, but it's lying to people who know you're lying to them.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it really, really difficult.
Yeah.
So I think it's like being a good liar can help you, but I don't know that that's a trait that is helpful because it only goes so far. Because eventually people will read the program. They have the program that says, blah, 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 is this person. So they know you're not that person. So your job is to convince them that you are. And if you lose that, the lines aren't going to save you. You know, it's the ability to convincingly do all the other stuff, to be emotionally intelligent, to be present. You know, you have to be a really good listener. I mean, I would say 90% of acting in general is listening and responding, is at least hearing what somebody says and going, yes, and then this. And that's 90% of it, because like a character comes in and is like, what are you doing? You have to be doing something.
Yeah.
If you're actually paying attention. So you can't just be sitting there. Like, so what are you doing? And you're like, oh, okay, hold on. Can we start again? I'll do something. You know, like it's like the text has the answers, but you have to solve it. You have to solve those puzzles yourself with working with the people.
Have to be an aware human.
Awareness is huge, and that is emotional and physical social awareness. It has to be pretty high.
Would you say like physical skills are also a requirement? Because
Yeah.
I mean, I watched a lot of theater just in preparation of this, and I mean, they seem like gymnasts, right? And maybe some of the stuff that I saw was, you know, you can attribute to that particular play, right? But in general, to run around on a stage,
You have to have a level of fitness for sure.
right?
Physical fitness, you have to be physically pretty active as a person, I think, to really be able to do most of what theater asks you, especially musical theater.
Yeah.
Some plays are very sit and talk, so yeah, maybe not. But there is a bit of stamina that comes with being able to speak for that long, you know, and being able to talk a long time, and being able to do like, you have to have a good ear in general, because you, like, chances are, like I said, that character I played, Bernstein in Hester Street, has an accent. You know, he's from Eastern Europe. He's from, like, you know, the Russian border. And so, like, I can't just talk like this. So, like, you have to be able to have a good ear for that kind of stuff. In this show, and Cornelius, he's from Yonkers. So he's going to talk like this the entire show, which is sort of this, like, almost Boston, almost New York sort of sound. But that's not how I talk. You know, like, and with Bernstein, he talked very much like a very soft sort of thing. It was a little bit of the Jewish Yiddish sort of tonality in it, you know, like, and it's like, that is very important. So if you can't really do that, you're going to lose out on a lot of roles. That's like, well, this person's from the South. How you going to do that if you can't talk like you're from the South? You can't drop right into it. That's going to be a problem, you know, like, and that's years of craft that, like, I found for me, something that helps me a lot. It's like, I rarely play a character that sounds just like me.
Yeah.
Because I have a gift in that way. Like, that's something I'm very good at. I market that. It's like, I can do an accent at the drop. Like, you give me a chance and I will figure this out, and I'll be able to drop into it on a moment's notice. And it's like practice, you know, it's like, it's going to a mall or a supermarket and having the entire interaction be a totally new person with this cashier that you're checking out. Sometimes I go to Trader Joe's and you just walk in and you're like, hey, how are you? Yeah, doing well. Good. No, it's nice. No, I didn't find everything I wanted, but that's all right. You know, like, and you just kind of do that, and you're like, this is practice. They don't know you.
Yeah.
You know, like, I did a role in this short film where I was an Irish doctor, and the entire ride to the set, which was like an hour and a half away, I was with the crew, and they had never met me, and I was like, now's my chance to try it. I'm going to just start doing the accent. And if I can convince these group of strangers that I'm from Ireland, I think I've got it. And at the end of the ride, they were like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I'm from Baltimore. Just dropped it. But the whole ride, I was just talking like this the entire time. And I just, like, asking them all sorts of questions from Dublin, you know, with that slight lisp, like Chris O'Dowd. And then at the very end, it was just like, and they were like, oh, where are you from? I was like, Baltimore. and they're like, what the hell? You know, and you're like, well, I was just practicing. And you guys were like an excellent, you know, it was like, everything I said to you was true. I just was saying it in a new way that, And I think it's great because like we do assume that if somebody starts talking to you in a voice,
for
that's who they are. You're not going to be like, no, like it's like
One of my best friends, we were in New Orleans for a bachelor party, and
Orleans.
he loved the accent, and so
Yeah.
everywhere he went, he just started talking like them, and nobody could
that like
tell.
sort of
they
that
genuinely,
Cajun accent.
yeah,
It's so fascinating. I love that
It's
idea,
hilarious.
my dad. Like, because I just did a show with Petite Rouge, which is how I got my Helen Hayes nomination. It was a children's show. It was set in, it was a Little Red Riding Hood set in New Orleans, in the bayous outside of New Orleans, and my character was the big bad alligator basically in the story, and he was an alligator, so he just all down here like this the whole time. He was all down here, and so I was very like bad, but it was a very silly character.
Yeah.
So like doing silly stuff like this. Oh, nah, you don't listen about this here. Like, and that was the whole voice, and it was so fun to be like, that's not me at all.
Yeah.
But there's so much of me in it. It's just not how I speak, and it's just like I find that fascinating. I don't know how people don't find that. So like, yes, having a good ear for both paying attention and to like what's happening around you, being very aware. I think just awareness, vocal, physical, mental awareness is absolutely top of the line of like skills you need to have. Is like you need to be in a room, and if somebody walks in and you're not looking at the door, you need to be able to know that somebody's walked into the room.
Yeah.
Like feeling it. And I think that like years of training have gotten me to this point where like I'm very aware of like what's around me. And I think that a lot of people right now, especially like in a more internet age, the physical space around them is like secondary to what they're doing. So like being able to know that like that's right there, and like, you know, out of the corner of my eye, have the water, I know where to put it without having to think about it, and just like doing it. I think it's like knowing your space is really hard, and then being aware of like.
So you mentioned the Helen Hayes nomination. How did that feel?
That was wild. Because I was aware of the Helen Hayes as a thing, you know, in the DC area, that was like, oh, this is like the local Tonys. And like, I didn't know much about him other than it was a thing that I saw that like you did a show and it got recommended for a Helen Hayes. You would get like a little thing. They would tell you. And I was like, that's cool. Never thought I would get one. Certainly not for playing an alligator, an evil, silly alligator. I didn't think I would get one, especially for a lead performer. And that was a real surprise. My co-star, Jordan Embrack, she was Petite Rouge. She was in the show as well, and we both got nominated. And we were both shocked. And everybody around us was like, we knew you were gonna get it. Like we were like, of course. But I was like, I didn't even know what is the, how did they decide that? Like, why? I still don't really know. I just know from word of mouth that like people really loved the role and what I did. So that was, I guess, the biggest part of it.
Congratulations.
But thank you so much. So like going there and being like nominated and that was really cool. Didn't win, but I also thought who won definitely deserved it. So like, it was just cool to be there. The show won. We won Best TYA Show. We had 8 nominations, which for like a children's show was crazy. We were like the second most nominated show at the Helen Hayes last year, and we were blown away. You know, but everybody who came to see it were like, it's amazing. Like, but you know, you get into this thing where you're like, what's for kids? You know, so it can't be high art. And it's like, well, it can be.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and clearly somebody thought. It was a shock, and it was really validating, I would say, to be like, wow, I'm appreciated on an award level for what I do. That's kind of awesome. 'Cause I never got that kind of lauding when I was living in New York.
Yeah.
And I move here, and I'm like working here, and it's suddenly like, oh, people really appreciate the kind of like craftsmanship that you bring to this. Is really, really fulfilling. And it's like, really? Cool.
I like this.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really awesome, and it was a surprise, and it has only been a benefit for me, which is like even just the nomination is a big deal because people go, oh, you got nominated.
Yeah,
that's cool. You know, they only nominate 8 people, you know, for each category, so that's pretty cool. I think it was 10 total, maybe now, because they've combined like non-union stuff. It's like based on how many seats you have and all that stuff, like the unions, whether it's a Helen or a Hayes, you know. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I still don't quite understand it, but I was very, very, very.
Well, I hope it helps.
It seems to be helping, at least in the fact that people know who I am.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, you're a seasoned vet now. right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure every theater is different to some extent, but let's pretend we're about to set up for a play, right?
Okay.
And I just want like a summary. What should I expect as a principal actor? Like I come on set and take me through a day and a common day, and like as the play progresses, some details, like
Sure.
what's it like to be on a set?
Okay. So, yes, you are. I will give you my sort of most recent one. So, you're hired to be a principal actor in a musical at a major equity house like Olney. You are going to be called for your rehearsal process. Chances are, depending on how they want to schedule, but baseline, you're going to be called probably from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 days a week. Monday is going to be your equity day off. You have to have a day off. Otherwise, I think they would work you. And you're going to do that for about 3 weeks of just probably 10 to 6 or 12 to 8, depending on how that amount of block. And you're going to come in. The first couple days is probably going to be like learning music and just like, reading the script out loud and just sort of feeling out the ensemble. And maybe some people will go learn a dance and other people will do like one scene. And then it slowly goes, okay, all of these people are going to learn this dance upstairs. You're going to go downstairs to the other rehearsal and you're going to learn, we're going to block the scene. And blocking is like, where do I walk? What do I pick up? How does this move so we don't crash into each other? So you kind of set the blocking. It's fluid, but it's like, I have to be here at this point. I have to be here because of the lighting, right? Like eventually lighting is going to watch the show and go, that's where I have to put light. So if you don't stand there, you're not going to be in the light. That's going to be most of that time. When you get to the end of the 3.5 weeks, you're going to move into what we call tech, which is the process of moving from the rehearsal room into the theater itself and getting on stage. Meanwhile, those weeks, the crew, tech crew, has been building the set, hanging lights, getting costumes. The costume department's going to do costumes. You probably go in for fittings and hair and all this stuff. Wigs, if you wear a wig in the show. Hair from the same person. Hair and wigs is usually the same person. They'll go, this is how we'd like your haircut. We can either pay for you to go here, or if you want to go somewhere, that you like. You're going to preparation. It's all that. And then you get to the space and they're still working on the set and they're still working on the costumes, but you're getting into, okay, now I'm on the stage. How does it change? Now the new process is for a week, you're going to go, okay, so this is way bigger than I thought. Or this desk is actually taller than we were rehearsing with. So they built one that's a little high. So now I got to jump on that. Oh, okay. So like, how do we do that? Can we move this? Can that go here? You slowly adjust stuff, lights, sound, costumes, technical crew. They're all going to be working at the same time with the actors on stage to try to make it as smooth as possible. The director, the choreographer, the stage management team who run the show when everybody else leaves, the director, choreographer, they're going to go about their life after it opens, but the actors and the stage management and the deck crew are all going to be there still working. They're going to be watching from the audience, and they're going to be able to go, oh, actually you can't. Hey, remember when I told you to stand there? We can't see you on that side of the house when you go. So can you come out? Like come out a little further, stage right. Great. Also, when you hear stage right, stage left, that's from the actor's point of view. House is when you're in the audience. So like house left, it will be your left, and house right will be your right. But if you're watching a show, stage right, stage left, right. So they're going to be on the opposite sides because it's the actor's stage left and stage right. And then there's upstage and downstage, right? So can you come downstage and stage right a little bit? You know where you're going to go. That's what tech is all about. And then you start to get into costume. And you start doing hair, makeup, costumes. That'll all come. Sound, you'll get your microphones, whether you wear it here or here. And then you're going to be like teching the process. At some point, the full band is going to come in. It's not just going to be your music director on the piano. They're going to be bringing in the whole band. And you're going to go, all right, we're just going to sing these songs and the band's going to play. So we can actually feel what that's like for the first time. Because it's different, right? All these musicians have been practicing these parts on their own, and now they're like in the band, so they'll practice.
That's what I was just gonna ask you. For your role, do you practice the actual lines and memorize all that stuff on your own on off time hours, or
everybody's different? Yeah, a little bit of both. Like you'll learn through osmosis. When you're rehearsing the scene, you're holding the script, and eventually this becomes very annoying because you can't use one hand. So you're like, I gotta put it down. You gotta learn the line, and then eventually you just done it. The scene, you do it. For me, I do the scene 6 times. I know where I'm walking. I know why I'm saying what I'm saying. this stops becoming as relevant because I'm like, well, now I know what I'm doing. I'm here to do this, so that I assume those lines will come when I stand in here and I'm trying to do that. Like they start to connect. Some people do, like, they need to go home and like really read it and read it and read it and read it. And like I do a thing where like I'll do a voice memo and I'll like record the other lines and then I'll like read my line very slowly. So it'll be like, oh, Mr. Hackle, what can I help you with? Oh, that's nice. You know, like, and then I can listen to it later and it's, oh, Mr. Hackle. And then I can say the line in that block and then it will be the next line. And so it's like, I practice, like there's programs, there's apps that like do that where you can like next line, and just practice your lines. Some people like, you know, force their spouses or their partners or their roommates to be like, test me. Can you like read the scene with me and tell me what I'm saying wrong? That helps. But yeah, like it's a mixed bag. Sometimes you do it on your own. Sometimes it's just through working on it. I'm a person who's like, as I'm learning the blocking, it comes, but it still takes some time. I mean, there's still shows where I'm like, that's not the line. Like I said it, I'm in the show and I'm like, just something happened. And you're like, why did I say that? That's not quite right. Like I totally switched that, but it's live, you know, it's live theater. So each time is a little different.
Adjust, move on.
Yeah. Then you finish your tech process. Yeah. You always have to adjust. It's like, sometimes something falls, like a thing will fall over. And if it's not dangerous, figure out a way to make it a part of the scene because an audience is very aware. So like if I were to drop like something on the ground and ignore it, that's not human behavior. So you'd be like, pick that up. And that's all they're going to think about is the audience is gonna be like, pick it up. And so you just got to grab it and keep going, you know? The other day, a screw.
And you're just wondering whether that's part of it.
Yeah. You're like, or you go, you forget about it immediately. You're like, that was awesome. Great. It's off of my plate. Like last night, there's a point in the show where I hide in a closet and a bunch of stuff started to fall out of the closet and was just out there and I was inside of it. And thankfully, one of my other actors, Alex, came up and just grabbed it, like took it off stage. Like she was like, okay, bye. Grabbed it, walked off. And I was like, excellent. Like, now I don't have to worry about it, you know? But it's like, I'm like looking at, you know? So that's your tech process is like figuring all of that out. Then you go into what we call previews, which is where they can invited dress rehearsal. Invited dress rehearsal is where like anybody involved in the show or at the theater who works there or friends of the director or whatever, they come and they watch it. It's a smaller house. They come to watch the show so you can get an audience reaction, you know, like if it's a comedy, after a while, you know, you stop laughing in the room because everybody's heard the joke 25,000 times. And so hearing a group of people that aren't involved laugh, you're like, that works. Oh, they didn't get it, so I got to be slower. Oh, I got to hit that word. Oh, that's what's funny. Oh, they thought my arm going out on that line was funny. Like, there's a great bit in this show that we had to really hone in, which is like she's like, oh, maybe you know this guy. His name is Horace Vandergelder. We're like, Horace Vandergelder? Of Vandergelder's Hay and Feed? And she's like, do you know him? And it's like, no. You know, and it's like, how do we, our look? No. How do we say no? How do we look? How long do we hold here before we come back to her at the same time? You know, like all of those little things are finessed when you start having an audience. And that's your previews. So it's like cheaper ticket, but it could just stop. They might just go, hey, everybody in the audience, hold. The train didn't come on stage. Or like, oh, this set got caught on the lights. We're going to take 5 minutes. We're going to fix this and we'll get back to the show. Okay. That's your previews. You don't want that to happen. It can happen still in a show, but ideally you work out all those kinks in your previews. And then like we had on Sunday, it was opening night, which is like, this is the first paid audience. Usually going to have a lot of theater people, a lot of people involved in the community are going to come see it. It's going to be like a huge to-do. There's going to be a party afterwards. And then after that, you're just in the run. So like your first 4 weeks is like rehearsal, tech, previews, and then you open. And then from that point forward, it runs as long as it does, which may be for this show, which is like 2 months, 2.5 months is going to be the rest of your run. You show up, you only have to come at half hour, but you can come earlier, which is half hour to the show. Your stage management will be on comms, which will be in the dressing rooms and things like that. You'll start to get ready for the show and you'll hear, actors, this is half hour to top a show. And then actors, this is 15 minutes to places, 15 minutes. Actors, this is your 5-minute call, 5 minutes. And then you'll have, all right, actors, this is places call, places. And in the theater, you'll be like, thank you 5, thank you 10, thank you whatever, thank you places. And then you get to places. They make sure everybody's there. You'll have assistant stage managers and deck crew off to the side going, yeah, I have places at stage left. Everybody's here. Everybody's here on stage right. And the show starts. And like, they'll do the pre-show announcement. Hey, turn off your phones. Don't be rude. Don't make noise. Emergency exits. And then the overture begins, and us who are not on in the first scene, we have monitors where we can hear and watch what's going on stage downstairs, and we're like, okay. And then it gets to a point where you're like, all right, we're about to come on. Let's go. Like, just put the rest of my costume on, get the last, put the hat on, and get on. Oh, hello, get on stage, and then you do the show. There's an intermission usually at a full-length musical, but not always. And that's your 15 minutes between acts to just kind of like relax for a bit and go, okay. Let everybody else pee and get a cocktail, come back, do the second act, and once the show is done, you just leave. You go home, and there's nothing else to be done. And you'll run that forever, and then the last show is always just like very emotional kind of thing, because it's very cathartic in a weird way. You know, you're very close to these people. It becomes very familial, and you're sharing and trusting a lot in them. Trust is a big thing. Going back to a list of things that's important to have, you have to really trust that the people around you are going to do what they are supposed to do. Because like you hope that comes in, and then you hope that the costume department sets your hat where it needs to be when you run off stage, and you have to come back in 2 seconds with a whole new costume on, which I've had before, where it's like you come off stage. There was a point where I was doing Buddy on tour, and it's like so many costume changes that are like 15 seconds. I have to have a whole new outfit. So like I basically go, all right, well, I'll see you later, and run off stage, and then it's like somebody helps you put it on, and they go and then they drink of water, and then right back on stage, new scene, right? And it's like, because we've gone 5 years in the future in the play, but I've only had 20 seconds before the set changed, and things rolled on, and then now we're in a new place.
What? How do you go from like insane quick to like
it's crazy
back into character?
It's really funny too, like physically to watch, like because it's like you go, it's kind of like a joke almost in the theater, where it's like you come from a scene where you're like, listen to me, Candace, if I find him, I'm gonna fucking kill him. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, no, I'm good. Okay, can I have that? Thank you so much. I'm back. He's dead. You know, like, and it's like, how do you just, it's like so funny to like go off stage. And there's a lot of jokes of like, you know, people leaving the stage and then like just completely dropping everything, which is really funny. Like, you know, like you're like, I'll take good care of her. And then you walk off stage, you're like, you know, because it's a fake baby. You know, like it's just like really funny to like, it is just like a drop when you come off stage. And there's like sight lines, right? Because like in a theater, like sometimes the stage is out a little bit, so you're like your sight lines are a little odd. So you know how far people can see you before you're like. So if you're like, I'll be back, and you walk off stage and you're like, I can still see the audience, and I can't see them. I can let it go now, because you got to prepare for the next thing. Because with this show specifically, it all takes place in one day. Yeah. So like everything is kind of like back to back. But like some shows, it's like, you know, it's been 6 years. Has jumped since the last scene. So like, oh, now my character, like I remember specifically, I can remember in Buddy the moment where I was like, oh, the second act is like 2 years later, and a lot of his career has started to really take off. So the way I play him, I have to have a completely different physical thing just to show the audience. I think this goes back to showing the audience. It's like all about showing them what you're trying to tell them. And it feels so unnatural sometimes, because you're like, the first act I was very like hips, because he's like, he's 16, 17 years old, and he's like all hips, like young Buddy Holly. I'm like, you know, like here, and it's like there's no like the head is not like totally, it's all about like passion. He's like, and then the second act, I'm like, oh no, he's matured, he's found his thing, he's found his wife, boom, and it's here, and he's like a lot more, you know, upright, and he's got he has a path, but he's gonna think, he's a thinker now, so it's here, it's not here, you know. And it's like that's the physical awareness I'm talking about, where it's like, to an audience, they'll read it as, wow, look how much more mature that character is since intermission. Because in the first act, he was so here. Now he's here. That's huge. And it doesn't feel that crazy, but like you can learn a lot about, you know, someone just by their position, their physical, their posture, right? Like you know a lot about who they are, what they've been through. And to show maturity, kick him up. Just that's all that mattered. It was like just bringing the shoulders back, bring the head up. And it's like now he's 2 years older. Not much, but for, you know, a 16-year-old, it does. It's a bigger gap. So those things are really interesting to like pop off stage and come back on and keep it all. But the process is pretty much the same always.
That sounds really, really hectic.
It's a lot. I'm very tired. I'm still tired from last week, because last week was like, you know, we were there for 10 hours plus a day, running the show, rehearsing, fixing stuff, changing things. It's pretty wild.
How many people are on a set?
If you're in a play, it can be very small. Like, you know, if there's like 3 people in the play, like if it's like a 3-person play, there's maybe like a total of people on staff, like actually running the show. It's like your stage managers calling the light and sound, and then you maybe have like a light person. Maybe they're just calling sound and making sure the lights move. You have somebody on sound, an assistant backstage, and then the 3 actors on stage. It's like maybe 6 people.
Wow.
For a show like this, we have 19 people in the company, and then there are 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. There are at least 10 other people making it happen behind the scenes that you don't see.
So 30.
Like dressing people, I think there's at least, yeah. So like even what you see on stage, maybe 12 people, but yeah, there's like 30 people actually at any given time making it happen. Plus the front of house, like the actual people running the theater.
So we talked a lot about what goes on in the play. I have a pretty
Yeah.
good understanding, but you also mentioned that you go on these shows for weeks and months. And so I'm under the impression that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're performing or something, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the union says that we have to have at least 1 day off a week. So
So
usually
you could perform for 6 days?
Yep.
Back to back?
Well, yeah. So like this particular contract, we thankfully have a lot of Monday and Tuesday off. So we actually get 2, which is pretty wild. But Monday is usually the day. Like Ford's does Sundays for some reason, they're off. But yeah, like so usually the basic schedule is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oftentimes Wednesday and Saturday having 2 shows. So you'll be 8 shows usually is the minimum. That's like the maximum they're allowed to do without paying us extra money, which is 8 shows a week. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's exhausting. Yeah.
Okay, and like, how do you actually keep the same tone? Like, so let's say we're going for like 6 weeks, 7
Okay,
weeks,
yeah.
right? 8 shows a week, 8 times 6, 42.
Yeah.
Show 1, 42nd show. Do they look different? Is that the difference between a junior actor and a seasoned actor? Like, how do you keep the same buzz?
It's tough because it does at some point start to settle into being a job, which I think a lot of people think it's always going to be fun every time. And it is fun. Like when I'm on stage, no matter what, I'm always having a good time. But it is still a job. Like you still have to get there and you got to go through your same things and your checklist. You got to make sure you got everything done. You check your props, you get on stage, you do like it is still by the book what you have to do. But keeping it fresh and making sure that it stays there is really, really integral to making sure that like the audience at the beginning gets the same show as the audience at the end in some way. There's an understanding within theater that like the first couple shows are going to be it figuring itself out because like now you have an audience consistently and you're going, okay, this works, this doesn't work. I'm going to hold here. I don't hold here. Well, this crowd didn't laugh at that. So maybe I'll try something different.
So you iterate.
You do. You have to. It's live. Like, you know, some audiences, like yesterday we had a 1 p.m. Wednesday show and that crowd, no offense to them if they're watching, was very old. And so they were very quiet and they were like just watching the show like it was a movie and not really reacting very much. And it was very jarring and it's very disappointing to us because it kind of sucks the energy out of the room when you come out and you do like a funny joke and then there's like,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, moving on. Because you can't hold this. It's weird now.
Yeah.
So like you do have to kind of listen and react, and this goes back to the response thing, to what an audience is giving you. And if they're not giving you a ton of energy, then you can go, all right, we'll pull back a little bit. We'll just push through these things. They're not laughing at all the jokes, so we're not gonna ask them to anymore. Like you start and you give them that moment, and then after a while you're like, no, I'm just gonna push through this line. You know, it's funny, they'll laugh, but they'll catch up. You know, it is a communication. I think a lot of people don't know that like the audience is very, your response as an audience member is integral to how good of a show you're actually going to get. We're going to give you a good show, but if you want a great show, let us hear you.
Yeah.
Because then we'll go, oh, they really like this. We got to make sure it's really good for them.
Yeah.
If you don't, we're going to go, all right, we'll pull back. We won't give it 100%.
Yeah.
Like, because it's, again, it goes back to conservation of energy. There's a fallacy that's like, you got to give it 100% every time. It's like, well, you don't always have 100% to give. And then if you go out and you're giving it the most you can and you're not getting any response from the audience that they're enjoying it, why would I continue to push to get it?
Yeah. Yeah.
In a way, this may be controversial, hot take, they don't deserve it anymore. Sure, they paid for it,
Yeah.
but part of the agreement is that you applaud and laugh, and we do what we do.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to applaud and laugh, then why should I give you all of my power?
Yeah.
You'll get some. You're still going to get. It's not. You won't. The funny thing is, you won't. A lay person probably won't be able to tell the difference between an actor giving 100 and an actor giving 80.
Yeah.
But it is very important for us to go, oh, we have 2 today, and this crowd's a little quiet. I'm not going to opt up on that. I'm not going to make the harder choices.
Yeah.
Because
they're not really present.
they're not here.
Yeah.
And if they are here, good for them, but they're not showing it. So
Yeah.
it's really tough. It's a debate, I think, that plays a lot. People are like, you should give every crowd the same. It's like, well, we start that way. We always start every show with giving 100%. It's after the first couple of numbers in the scene where you're like, they're not laughing. So maybe we just kind of push through.
Is there that time where half of it's dead, but there's that one guy that's just like loving it?
Yeah, we do love that. That is always great. Where there's like one loud laugher, that can often save a whole crowd.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is that person laughs so loud or weird.
And it's contagious.
Sometimes. And it is contagious to the audience, but it's contagious to us because we're like, that's amazing. That person thinks it's that funny.
Yeah.
And then everybody in the crowd starts to laugh at them.
Yeah.
And in turn, they start laughing more.
Yeah.
And so it can spread.
Yeah.
But it is really hard. We call those dentistry shows when it's like you're pulling teeth, and you're like, well, practicing dentistry today because it's really tough to get a reaction out of this crowd.
So how do you deal with, I'm guessing, what are the biggest challenges that you face as a theater actor?
As a theater,
Is stage fright one of them?
yeah, I think stage fright is an early problem.
Okay.
I know some people who still get it, and they're later in their career, and I'm always
How do you do you have any advice for someone to just get through that?
Well, I'll say that you always get a little butterfly, a little anxious, no matter what, because you're still stepping out in front of 100 to 200 to 300 people and doing something that is quite silly, really. Like, I always tell people, I'm like, we're not curing cancer. We're making you laugh for 2 hours. Well, I'm pretending to be someone for 2 hours. It's not that important. But it is very important to that person in the audience who's like had a terrible day and wants to laugh. Right? It's the most important thing to them. So it's a really weird place where like we kind of look down upon the arts in that way. But to give up that stage fright, if you feel like you have really bad stage fright, one, my wife did. You've met my wife, Lacey. She was an actor. We met acting, but she gave up acting because she was like, I don't like being in front of people. It makes me really anxious. I don't know why. She was a dancer for a long time, and she was like, I don't enjoy it. It doesn't bring me joy. It makes me really stressed. And so she left. I think if it makes you really, really, really scared to get out there, it just might not be the version of being involved in theater that is for you. You could be a director, choreographer. Those are incredibly important things. Stage management. You're still involved in the theater and you're still integral to the process. You just may not be a person. You're not the face because it makes you too anxious. Don't live like that. But if it's minor, normal, where you're like, oh God, I hope I do a good job. Everybody feels that. Okay. I still feel a little bit of that. I hope I do a good job tonight. I hope that we have fun. Yeah. And I hope that the audience is with us.
Shows you're invested, man. You care.
We care. We do care. And that's why I'm saying most people would never know the difference between the 80 and the 100.
Yeah.
And because we're always trying to give the best show. There's never I'm not going to give them a good show. No, that's never an option. But when it comes to stage fright, I don't have it as much anymore. I still get excited, but it's excitement. I love to be out there. So it's like, if you love roller coasters, it's I'm next. That's what it feels like. It's a little scary.
Feeling.
Yeah, it's like tingly. It's adrenaline, and it gets you very excited. If you have really bad stage fright or really bad, but not crippling, maybe don't be an actor. But if you are like someone who gets really, really anxious and you get really worked up and you're like sweating a lot, I think one thing to remember is like they all want you to do a good job. Like they're all having a good time. Like no one's expecting it to be bad. So like remove that from your brain. I think what gets in our way a lot is that what if it goes wrong?
Yeah.
Audience,
they don't know.
They don't know. And that's the thing that I had to overcome. It's like they don't know not only whether or not it's going to go right or wrong, they don't know what's supposed to happen and what's not. So you go out there and you do the wrong dance, they don't know. That was the right dance to them.
Yeah.
They don't know. Exactly. You go out and you say the wrong words in a scene and you think, God, oh my God, I messed up that scene so bad. Did you get the information across? Do they now know that blah, blah, blah is coming to dinner or whatever? Like, they don't know the script. They don't know the music, really. they might know the lyrics, so that's tough. With musicals, people love, like, with Hello Dolly, the show's been around since the 60s, so people know the words to Hello Dolly. So we try to nail those. It's hard not to nail those because it's ingrained, I think, culturally in the theater person. But for the most part, they don't know the blocking, they don't know the dance, and they don't know the lines, really. So relinquish the fear that if you mess those up, it's going to be the end of the show. It's not. They don't know. They literally don't know. And whatever you do say is correct because that's what they're experiencing. That's the beauty of the live part of it.
Yeah.
It's like you go out there and you say the line wrong. It's the line. It's not wrong. It's the line tonight.
So what are the biggest challenges that like most theater actors face?
There's a lot of insecurity in the profession. I think a lot of people who get into it really, really want to be loved.
Well, it makes sense. You mentioned you're the product.
Yeah, you are the product, and you really want the validation, be it from casting, be it from your fellow actors, the audience. You want, it's always for the audience. That's why I always teach my students. Everything's for the audience. This goes back to the show part of it, and the breath. Just like take a breath. And the biggest challenge, I think, comes from the fact that people get in their own way, a lot. I think it's hard. It's taken me a long time to be a confident performer in the way that I know that I can deliver, where I think a lot of people go, oh, I have the skills, but I don't think I can. I don't know. When I get out there, it's probably going to be bad. And they really need, and I did for a period of time. I mean, like before I went to therapy, before the pandemic, there was like a lot of myself tied to how good I was or how good I was perceived. And getting the job was like very much tied to my self-worth. I think that's pretty common across the board. You talk to any actor and they'll be like, if I didn't book a play and it went by 2 years, I might give up because it's just so disheartening to like go out 8 times, 10 times, 12, 13, depending on, what your season looks like, and not book. It sucks. Like I've been in those periods where it's like 6 months where you're like, I don't have anything. And around here, it's really weird, mainly because in the DC area, they cast so far in advance. They really do. Like I was cast in Ford's production of 1776 before we learned that my wife was pregnant.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And she will deliver before we go into rehearsal. So 9 months ahead of time is pretty early to know what you're doing next year, basically. But going back to the question, I think that a lot of what are the biggest pitfalls for performers are physical health is a big thing. I'm somebody, and I know I'm not alone in this profession, that like worries a lot about their voice, especially when you have to sing a lot and you have to talk a lot in a show like I do in this show. It's very much like, how do I do it 8 times a week? Because it's hard, and it gets harder because you get tired. It's like just like any muscle. Like if you worked one arm every day for 2.5 hours, at the end of the week, you're gonna be like, I can't lift anything anymore. Yeah. That's how it feels vocally too. It's like your voice recovers faster than a lot of things, but sometimes you gotta like, so there are things that you do. So the insecurity is a big part of it. I think that's just relinquishing that. There was a great quote that one of my professors at Towson, Peter Ray, once said, which was, you will do for the role. Once you have it, you don't have to prove to anybody anymore that you earned it. It's yours. So you don't have to prove it. Stop trying to prove it. You don't need to continually audition every time you walk in the room. You already have it. So you don't have to prove that you
get out of audition mode.
And that's really hard. Get out. It's like, I'm sure it transcends.
I feel like that's adjusting to something new is something I feel humans just struggle with. Like I've noticed this a lot. Like if you have a poverty mindset, for instance, and you get money, people still kind of live in that poverty, right? Yeah. And
can't spend
it's
it.
like newsflash.
You have money.
You made it.
Yeah.
Go do something with it. But no. And so
yeah,
it's difficult to adjust, right? Because like the human psyche repeats subconscious patterns.
Yes.
Right. And changing a subconscious pattern is difficult. And it takes time and it takes practice and new habit building and things of that nature. So I can see why people would struggle with that, because getting to the audition and succeeding is like huge.
It's already getting asked to come audition is a big step.
Yeah.
Then you do the audition, then you get what we call a callback, which is like, okay, I've seen you sing a song. or I read or do a monologue, but now here's something from the show.
Okay.
So read this and sing this, prepare this, come in, and then perform it, and maybe read with another actor and see how the chemistry read is what we call. And that's the next step, the callback. So getting in the callback, huge. I think people circumvent the fact that getting in the room in the first place is a great achievement, and you should be happy that you get to practice doing what you do. I used to think about it so that you get to practice what you love. Excuse me. You get to practice what you love, and you don't even know if you're going to get to do it. So you might as well do and have fun with it. And it took me a long time to get there. And I think that's like going back to advice for young actors is like every time you get a chance, I used to look at dance callbacks when they would be like, okay, we're going to come in, you're going to learn basically like a 2-minute dance to prove to us that you can dance basically, or that you can at least learn to dance. I used to look at those with such dread of like, I'm not a good dancer. This is going to be miserable. And now I'm like, this is a dance class. This is a class. A free dance class to learn how to be better at this. And it's changed my whole like career, because I'm like, I go in and I'm like, oh, I know I'm not the greatest dancer. I know I won't be the best dancer in this room no matter what room I walk in. But I do know that if I think of this as like a class where I get to learn dance without having to go and find a class and pay for it and register for the class, it makes it like fun. Because I'm like, well, no, if I just have fun, then maybe I'll dance better, because I'm not thinking about it as like, I need to do good, but I know I'm not good. Like, it's like you're always at, like, I think 90% of actors would agree with like this feeling of, I know I'm good, but also what if I'm not? And then these two things are both bashing in your head constantly, even after you get the role, you know, sometimes. But like when you're in a room like that, I think relinquishing it and going, okay, regardless of if I'm good or not, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pretend like this is a class where I get to show what I love to do and hopefully get better at it. And that's all I'll do. And if I get it, great. If I don't, hey, guess what? I learned how to do a dance. That's cool. And that has transformed my like thing. I think Bryan Cranston had a quote about it where he was like, you can't control anything when you go into a room. Again, this goes back to, you're not blonde. Okay. Didn't get it, you know? But what you can control is like the amount of enjoyment and amount of fulfillment you get out of doing it, which is
a perspective shift.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I get to go and act. That's fun. I love that. So I'm just going to have fun. And just like, if they think I'm right for it, awesome. If they don't, okay. I can't make them. I can't force them to hire me. So.
You know, it seems like there's this book. It's by Carol Dweck, Mindset.
Okay.
And it seems very relevant here. Well, so it seems like actors kind of struggle with having a result-oriented thought process versus a growth-oriented thought process. So you mentioned it when you go to this dance class, you're not going to be the best dancer no matter what you do, right? Yeah. However, I'm going to just learn from this and enjoy and do the best that I can. So what Carol says, more people find success if they have a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset, which is basically a result-oriented thought process, right? All their self-worth is tied to whether the result was achieved or not.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And so if they don't get that result, they essentially feel like a failure, their self-worth, all that stuff like falls apart. Right. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, you basically take every single technically unachieved result as an opportunity to grow, right?
Makes sense.
And so they should all read it. Theater actors, check it out. We should. Carol Dweck.
What was it called?
Mindset.
Yeah.
And it's short too. It's
I'm definitely gonna read that.
It's a really, really good book.
I feel like I've instilled that I didn't know about that book, but I think I've started to instill that in my life, and it has garnered far more success for my career than the other way, which is like, I just need to get a job. It's like a lot of actors I think are like, I just need a book. I need a book is what we call it. Like, I need a book. And it offers a lot more disappointment when you don't, because it is so important to you to just get the job. Whereas I think I transformed when we came to this area. When we moved here, I was like, well, now I can curate my own career the way I want, and not the way that I've been seen by everybody in the other place. So like, these people don't know me. So if I'm like, I don't want to do that kind of role, I just don't audition for it, and they won't know that that's what I do. You know, like, it's like, oh, so I can really get roles like Bernstein that I was like, or Claude the Gator. Like, these are not roles that I was getting cast in before. And it's really exciting to be able to like change that. And it was all when I think I was just like, you know what? What can I do? How can I change as a performer? How can I make this my artistic home and not just be like, get the job?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, if the job is not right and it sucks, like, okay, you got it. Now what?
You're miserable.
Yeah. It's like, is it actually benefiting you? And I tell people that a lot. I'm like, it's hard. You have to go in knowing, but you can be particular. You can be picky. And it will benefit you to be like, no, it's not what I want to do. I know it's a job, and we're told in every walk of life and in the actor's career is like, just take it, just do it, say yes. You never know when the next one's going to come. And I think that's flawed, fundamentally flawed, to be like, because that creates that result-oriented mindset. It also creates so much failure and inadequacy, because you're like, I just need to book. I just need to get a job to prove that I can do this. Versus like
scarcity mindset, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm doing it for the insurance.
Yeah, I'm doing it for the weeks. And it's like, well, if that's what you're going to do, then yeah, okay. Well, at least you know what you're doing. But if you're like, I really want to be artistic, you just got to say no to a lot of things. And that's going to feel really painful. I had to do it too, because it was transforming for me. Because when we moved here, my wife was like, look, I don't want you to leave for 6 months because we're trying to start a family. You can't just be gone for 3 to 6 months. And I was like, you're right. I can't. So I have to say no to those things. But it's hard when somebody goes, hey, I got you this role. You don't even have to audition. Come, we'll pay you this much. And you're like, oh, that's what I always wanted. But it's not what I want anymore. And then you have to go, no, sorry, I'm not leaving anymore. And it's like, every part of like what you're trained to do is like, you idiot, you just gave up. And you're like, no, it's just been training yourself to go, but it's not even what I wanted. I was just chasing the job. I was chasing the idea of being a working actor over my actual happiness as an artist, which is harder, but more fulfilling because you get to be in control. No, I don't want to do that.
So some of the best advice that you would give to somebody is to learn how to say no.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Especially in this career, because early on, I think you need to say yes. It's you have to know how to flip, to go say yes to learning how to do it. But once you've learned and you feel confident in the craft, then you need to start saying no, because you start to know what's beneath you.
Yeah.
What is not serving you anymore. And I think there's a lot of performers out there who just take the job, like I said, and they're like, I'm just not making enough money. And it's like, well, why'd you take that job? Well, I needed it. And I was like, yeah, but you would have made more if you just worked at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So why didn't you just do that? You're not happy. You're not where you live. You're paying rent in a city you don't live in. You're like, if you're in New York and you're working in Ohio, guess what? Your apartment's still there.
Yeah.
So you're paying rent in a city you don't live in. You don't like the show. You feel like it's beneath you, the role, and you're not getting paid enough. Why are you doing it? And you're like, shit. It's like every time I get asked a lot by friends, what should I do? I got these 2 things. What should I do? A friend of mine called me the other day. I love him so much. Sam, you're amazing. He's great. And he called me and he goes, okay, I can do this show I've done 10 times, $1 Million Quartet. It's about Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley. And I've done it too. I've done it 7 times. So we're in the same boat. That's how we met. He's like, I can do that, or I can do a show I've never done and play like the main character at this other theater. They're not paying me as much here, but I also am only going to swing, which means I'm not going to perform unless somebody goes out on that other show, but they're paying me more. And I was like, let me reframe this for you. Play a role you've never done in a leading role in a show you've never done at a theater that really loves you, or maybe not go on stage for a show you've done 10 times. Which one sounds better? And he was like, fuck. Yeah. He's like, okay, yep.
Hey.
I'm like, it's that simple, really. At the end of the day, that's what do you want to do with your career? If you want to just keep doing that show, then do that show. But if you want to expand, because I was like, I saw you do Waitress, and you were amazing in that show, and it had nothing to do with what you've done in these other shows. You weren't playing guitar, you weren't singing rock and roll music from the 50s. Look, I was there. I said I had to say no, and it hurts because you're like, but it's so easy. It's right there. They're just giving it to me. I don't even have to try.
Yeah.
That's when you got to run the other way, because it's getting too easy. You're getting lazy. You know, as an artist, you're going, it's just right here. I'll just say yes. I'll just say yes. I'll just say yes. It's easier. But it's like easier isn't better. You know, it's just easier.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, you do whatever you want to do. I just wanted to reframe the question for you like that, so that you could really see what you're weighing here, and that I think one's pretty obvious,
Yeah.
but your call to make. Yeah. So it's like being able to say no to the thing that just seems like it's so tantalizing, But it's also like scammy in a way where you're like, it starts to get to the point where you're like, want to make $100 real fast, and you're like, it's too good to be. Why? What do you want from me? This can't be real.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna actually. No way this is real. It's what it starts to feel like when somebody goes, hey, we want you to come out and do this show. No, it's only $300 a week, and you're like, no. But you go, well, you want me? And it's that the missing hole when I said the insecurity is rampant in actors, and we are taught to just say yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you want me? Oh, well then maybe I'll consider. It's like, no.
Yeah.
$300 a week? Are you kidding me? That's nothing. That is insulting. Like for what you are worth, get out of here. Like I won't even consider. At this point in my career, I was like, I can't consider jobs that don't pay $800 or more. I can't.
Yeah.
I just literally can't do it. But also like, I know what I'm worth. So why should I undersell myself? It's
Fair
like,
enough.
you want the best version of me, you'll have to pay for it. And if you can't, that's too bad. I'm so sorry. I won't be there. No offense. I get it. You have a budget, but so do I. So like,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
Yeah. So like knowing your worth and saying no are really, really hard. But I think making that journey sooner than later is good. But I am grateful for the experience I had. But I didn't really get to make that decision until I turned 30 to go,
Oh, okay.
no. I mean, it was like right around 2021 when I started to go, no. Post pandemic, I was like, I need to be more selective. I need to be specific.
Well, on that note of advice,
Yes.
I close all episodes off asking people,
Okay.
I don't know if you had an opportunity to prepare.
Oh, gosh.
But a short burst answer
Yep.
to what is the best career advice you have received and what is the worst career advice you have received. Let's go with best first.
Best career advice that I've ever received. It goes along the lines of like, you will do for the role, right? But that is a little more vague. It's once you've booked. I think be nice, be kind, because that only serves.
Okay. And what is the worst career advice that you've received?
The worst career advice I ever received was say yes to everything that comes your way, because I think it's really good. Here's the thing. I think yes is great, but it stops serving you because at some point you say yes so many times people take advantage of you because they go, well, he'll say yes. So you need to know when to say. So saying yes, but you need to be smart. So like, unfortunately, I'm going to say that that's in this career. That's one of those things where it's like, careful what you say yes to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I learned so much about it.
I hope so. Sometimes I just talk and I go, what the hell am I talking about?
No, so just even preparing,
Yeah.
right? I had to learn so much. And then so I watched everything, and because you have to prepare for the interview.
Yeah.
And so for each episode, I have to prepare on a different career path.
Yeah.
Right. And it's usually not that easy, but I can go on YouTube and I can just check out stuff. This was a
YouTube's
bit
the
easier.
best. Yeah.
And so thank you so much for coming in and giving an in-depth. I'm under the impression that anyone that's joining theater acting would really benefit from the episode. So
I hope so. I hope so.
That was a lot of good information in there. So thank you for taking the time, man.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Of course.